The Cardinals powered their way to victory in Game 1 of the National League Division Series. Now the Padres must respond to avoid falling behind 2-0. It's all coming up next, and it's all available in stunning high definition.
The following is a special presentation of ESPN2, the worldwide leader in sports.
Program. Scorecard program. Tonight's program.
Best ninth-inning team in all of baseball.
The pretenders are gone. Left 8 teams, each feeling they've got a shot to win it all.
30 seconds.
Stand by, guys. Here we go.
This is the moment many of these players have been dreaming about since they first started playing the game.
Last year, the Cardinals' best record in baseball.
What did it get them? A sweep in the World Series. This year, the Cardinals will be bringing the broom.
As advertised, according to plan, the Cards came out connecting, capped by a Reggie Sanders slam. For St. Louis, a return to the World Series is a mission, and so far, all systems are go.
The fans are on their feet, finally getting a chance to watch their team play in the playoffs.
Summer right out of St. Louis overnight, and a glorious October day with temperatures in the 60s sets the tone for Game 2 of the series, but desperation hangs in the air for the Padres. From Busch Stadium, the Central Division champion Cardinals hold the hammer. They're about to face the NL West champs from San Diego following Tuesday's 8-5 St. Louis victory. Hey, if you were Reggie Sanders, this would be a beautiful day for you, too. The Cardinal slugger, all smiles after his huge afternoon at the plate in Game 1. Sanders set a new division series record by driving in 6 runs Tuesday, 4 of them coming on this 5th-inning grand slam. And in this wonderful baseball town, they know how to treat their postseason heroes. He's in lineup again, batting 5th in Game 2. Welcome to St. Louis and Busch Stadium, everybody. Great to have you along. I'm Dave O'Brien, along with Eric Karros and Steve Phillips. And Steve, a terrific story on the mound today for the Padres. The man trying to keep Reggie Sanders at bay is Pedro Estacio. At midseason, it looked like he was. We certainly hope red is your favorite color. For the next 2.5 hours, you're going to see a whole lot of that here in St. Louis, the home of the Cardinals. The Padres flat up against it. In Division Series Game number 2, Steve Phillips, Eric Karros, Dave O'Brien, and Duke Castiglione with you. As the St. Louis Cardinals up 1-0 take the field for the second one under beautiful sunny skies. Just a gorgeous day, a Chamber of Commerce kind of day in St. Louis, Missouri. Bruce Bochy is the winningest manager in San Diego Padre history. The 50-year-old at 6'4", 215 pounds, but he can't get in that lineup and swing the bat today against Mark Mulder. Here are the men who will for him. It'll be Eric Young to lead it off, the 38-year-old former speed merchant for the San Diego Padres.
Batting second, the second baseman, Mark Loretta, the most professional hitter for this Padres team.
Ramon Hernandez ended San Diego's rally with a bases-loaded strikeout on Tuesday. Brian Giles, 337 lifetime here at Busch Stadium.
Khalil Green at short, young shortstop, has some power. Big hits in September for the Padres.
Joe Randa has hit Mulder very well in his career, followed by Xavier Nady with 13 home runs during the regular season. Ben Johnson's in right field. He had a stretch earlier this season where he homered in 3 in a row. And Pedro Estacio is the pitcher, batting 9th against the big lefty Mulder. Steve, how about his day-night splits? His performance radically different between day and nighttime.
Well, it's amazing. Tony La Russa says, you know what, we don't know really what to make of it, so we're not going to talk too much about it. But he has gotten knocked around in the daytime. The Padres are hoping they're going to do it today. He's a sinker ball pitcher. Not a lot of strikeouts, gets a lot of ground balls, big split finger fastball that the Padres hitters say they haven't seen him throw over the last month of the season. That's what we need to watch from Mulder today. Is he throwing a split?
Well, if the Padres hit it in the air, that outfield will catch it. Sanders, Edmonds, and Walker from left to right. Of course, Edmonds, a 7-time Gold Glover. Up the middle, Eckstein and Grudz-Zelenik, such a key up there.
Well, they really are. When you're talking about defense, defense is important up the middle. And with the new acquisitions of David Eckstein and Mark Grudz-Zelenik, they fit in great. 196 double plays this year. The Cardinals' turn. The reason for it, these two.
Eric Young about to get in, 275 during the regular season. He came off the bench to hit a home run in Game 1 on Tuesday, which started the San Diego comeback, but they would fall short 8-5. Actually out-hit the St. Louis Cardinals 13-10 in the first game. Mulder's first pitch of the day is in there for a strike, and we are underway. 0-1 on Young. Mark Mulder, a 16-game winner during the regular season with an ERA of 3.64. The left-hander, that one is fouled away at the plate by Young. He's quickly behind 0-2.
Well, I think the thing to look for very early here is the Padres know that in Mark Mulder's last start, he walked 7 batters. So they're going to force him to throw strike today and throw a lot of pitches, bring the ball into the strike zone.
61 degrees as we get started here for game 2. And it's rattled foul again by Young. We go back to that last start, which was not a big concern on Friday for St. Louis, but you look at all the walks, and that really jumps out at you in only 4 innings.
Well, it does jump out at you, but what you have to take into account, the Cardinals have known they've been in the playoffs for a while, and it's difficult, you know, down the stretch if you're already in, to still go out with that same intensity that you'll have in the playoffs.
Inside, the count 1-2 strike. Mark Loretta, and then Ramon Hernandez to follow, and the cleanup man is Brian Giles for a San Diego team that has to scratch and claw for every run. Another foul again as Young continues to make Mulder work. Of course, a packed house in St. Louis. Everybody virtually decked out in some version of red. In fact, we asked the concessionaire selling all the Cardinals shirts and memorabilia inside Busch Stadium when we came upstairs today, what's the best seller? He said anything red. The 1-2 buried by Mulder. 2-2.
And this is what Eric Young wants to do as a leadoff hitter, make Mark Mulder throw some pitches. You know, even if he gets out, it's a productive at bat. It allows some of the hitters behind him to see what Mark Mulder has.
Well, Young really making the left-hander work. Puts it in play and rattles that one to Eckstein. On the money with the toss to Pujols. 1 man out. A lot of controversy about Jake Peavy and his injured rib. For more on that, we bring in our 4th man, Duke Castiglione. Duke.
Well, I tell you, OB, a lot of controversy. Depending on who you talk to, you'll get a different answer. But did he break the rib last week in that celebratory scrum when the Padres clinched the NL West, or did he break it when the other day he caught his cleat on the mound throwing a pitch? I talked to Dr. Henneke, the Padres team doctor. He said all the symptoms, the physical evidence, and the MRI, plus just talking to Peavy, he said all point to throwing the pitch the other day is when he broke it. Now, Peavy today said it's feeling better. He's being treated with medication. He probably couldn't go in game 4. Probably might be able to go in game 5. That's if we get that far.
Yeah, after Tuesday, Duke, it looked like they had ruled him out completely as far as pitching any further in the playoffs. It's an open question how he injured it. He admits that, you know, in the pylon after they clinched the division title, he probably landed on somebody. And Eric, you've been in the middle of a couple of those, and they can get pretty violent.
Well, they get violent because it's a lot of grabbing and messing around and getting some shots on some guys, you know, and that's one of those things. It's all, you know, it's kind of a lot of horseplay. And whether or not he did something that day, I mean, it's really irrelevant, because the point is he's not going to be able to pitch probably, at least at full strength, another game in this series.
Well, I guess the relevancy is if they knew he was hurt, if he had the fractured rib before the start, do they not roll him out there? And you'd have to say, given the results, in retrospect, they would not have started him in game 1. Now, here's the celebration September 28th when they wrap up the National League West. He's in there somewhere. And here's how the doctor says that, in his opinion, he probably hurt it on that pitch. But doesn't it make more sense that he aggravated it? A standing injury on that pitch?
Well, I would think so. I mean, if it's bothering him, it probably hurt him a little bit more when he threw the ball.
Loretta grounding out to Nunez. Abraham Nunez was filled in so ably for Scott Rowland, the Gold Glover, and there are 2 down.
Well, and that's the thing. You're talking about Peavy, and did he probably have a bit of a bruise, or was there an aggravation? Absolutely. But the alternative to start somebody else, or to ask Jake Peavy, hey, you know what, we're gonna pull you off that first start because you're a bit sore. There's no way that Jake Peavy would let them do that. He went out there. He probably made it worse when he did catch his spike the other day. But, you know, everything was done by the book. He went out there, and, you know, now they've got some issues.
Yeah, he went out there all right, but he got lit up. And here's Hernandez taking a ball down low. Ramon Hernandez, 290 with 12 home runs.
Well, that's why today this is a critical game for Pedro Stasio. I mean, the pressure's on right now. You're down 0-1. They were banking on Peavy winning 2 games in this series. They need to win this game and go back home with a split, or they're in big trouble.
Steve, you're a former general manager. How are those things normally handled? If there's an idea a guy might have been hurt, and you get information about that, your starting pitcher in game 1, do you go to your manager and have a sit down right away?
Well, I mean, certainly there should be that line of communication. That has to be open. Players tell trainers, trainers talk to doctors, everybody discusses things. It all has to filter back to the manager and the general manager so that you can make an educated decision about what you want to do. In the end, though, Peavy, if he were that hurt, if it was that bad, he would have spoken up. He looked okay throwing a lot of his pitches. I don't think it was all his struggles were related to the ribs.
3 balls and a strike on Hernandez. So Bochy going with Estacio today in game number 2. 13-7 Peavy during the rest of this regular season. And look at the rest of the Padres starters. Well under 500. Without question, the ace of the staff. Estacio has to be that man today. It's a critical situation for the Padres. Boy, coming out of St. Louis against a team like this down 0-2.
I'll tell you what, though, this is a gift for Estacio to be a Padre in the playoffs right now.
Chopper up the middle by Hernandez, cut off by Grudzielanek. Nice play, moving toward the bag, and on 3 ground ball outs, the Padres are done. It'll be the top of the order for the St. Louis Cardinals, the Central Division champs. When we come back, Eckstein, Edmonds, and Albert Pujols. They were chanting Red G, Red G, Red G here in St. Louis just the other day in game 1 after his amazing 6 RBI performance, eclipsing Carlos Beltran's single game division series record. And here's a look at the St. Louis lineup for game 2. It'll be David Eckstein at the top, 294 during the regular season.
Batting second, Jimmy Edmonds, the center fielder. 3 big base hits yesterday, scored 3 runs, a big part of this offense.
Pujols led the majors in runs scored among all the other things he has done. Larry Walker, 289, 15 home runs during the season. Reggie Sanders coming off the big day with 6 RBIs in the first 5 innings.
Mark Grudzielanek, a great offensive force at second base, a battle every time at the plate.
Abraham Nunez, a switch hitter. Yadier Molina, one of the top defensive catchers in the game. And Mark Mulder, not much of a bunter, only 1 sacrifice all season. Up against the righty Pedro Estacio, the Padres grabbed a diamond off the scrap heap when they gambled on the then 2-8 Estacio, who had been cut loose by Texas.
Yeah, with Pedro Estacio, what you have to look for is movement in his pitches. His sinker's got to be running into right-handers, and his slider has to be breaking. He has a good changeup as well. If his pitches are flat, he will run into trouble.
David Eckstein in to face him. This is the first time Eckstein has ever seen the cagey Estacio. So what is he up against there? Because this is a guy who pretty much empties his bag of tricks. He's got a big bag. Up the middle and a single. Eckstein not nervous at all, although Tony La Russa said before the game Estacio makes him nervous coming into game 2.
Well, because he's a battler. You said what David Eckstein do against him? He's never seen him. Just look for that sinker down and try to poke it up the middle right there. David Eckstein has battled all year long. Unbelievable job as a leadoff hitter for this team. He'll work the count, get a lot of pitches, and he puts it in play. He can get on base.
Well, and the types of hitters that are successful off Estacio are the guys that don't try to do too much. Just put the bat on the ball. It's the free swingers that try and do a lot. When you have that movement that Estacio has, that's where they run into trouble.
Edmonds gets in, 263, 29 home runs, 89 RBIs during the season. He rolls that one foul going after the first pitch. He went 3 for 4 with a solo home run in the first inning in game 1 off of Jake Peavy, which might have been the first sign from the St. Louis side that something was up with Peavy. The count 0-1, and so much of the Padres' hopes rested on the young shoulder of the young Jake Peavy. Eckstein at first, and it's fouled back to the net. The Cardinals do not run a whole lot. They only stole 83 bases during the regular season. Then again, they don't allow any either. Only 32 stolen bases against La Russa's team.
Well, I tell you, it's so tough, though, when you're on base and you have Edmonds and Pujols and those guys coming up. You don't want to run into outs because they have a chance to hit it out of the ballpark. Why not leave them on there and score them from first base?
Edmonds backs away. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Pujols in the on-deck area. The man who may be MVP in 2005, although we just left Atlanta. And Andrew Jones reminded us with a home run in game 1 of the Braves series against Houston that he wants that honor too as he homered. High pop up over second into shallow center field, and Khalil Green backs out to make the catch. 1 man out. So no first inning heroics here in game 2 for Jim Edmonds. But here comes Albert Pujols. The people's choice for that MVP, at least here in St. Louis.
Well, it really is. And when you talk to Tony La Russa, I mean, he just goes Google off of Albert Pujols. He talks about him as being the greatest player he has ever managed. And Tony La Russa has managed a number of Hall of Famers and future Hall of Famers.
330, 41 homers, 117 runs batted in, as he had another magnificent season and also led the majors for the 3rd year in a row in runs scored with 129.
The thing about Pujols is he's the hardest working player, the most professional player. You talk about making it easier on your manager. When your best player is also your best citizen, it goes a long way with the rest of the club.
But a double play ball. Green shovels to Loretta on to first. A twin killing, 6-4-3. And Estacio does good work despite giving up that leadoff single. Nothing doing here for St. Louis in the first. We are 0-0 in game 2. Game 2 of this National League Division Series with the Cardinals up 1-0. Great to have you with us as we go to the top of the second on a sunlit day here in St. Louis, Missouri. And Brian Giles will lead things off against the left-hander Mark Mulder. Giles with a .301 average during the season attacks that first pitch and fouls it away. And how cool is it that there are 200 major league players still active right now in the 2005 season? 2 of them are brothers. Brian Giles for the Padres and his younger brother, the outstanding second baseman for the Atlanta Braves, Marcus. That one gets a piece of the glove of Mulder. Can he recover? He shovels and got him. Giles out at first base on a close play. No panic there, and Mark Mulder on a sharp comebacker.
Well, Mark Mulder is an excellent athlete. I mean, he does everything. He can play basketball, water ski. He does everything across the board. You know, this ball hit back to him. He doesn't field it cleanly, but he's able to react, get his composure, and then flip it over. A lot of times what happens when players, you know, they start to panic and they start to rush things and make things try to happen fast. That's when you throw it down the first base line or don't complete the play. Nice play by Mark Mulder.
So 1 man out. He's gotten 4 ground balls to begin his start. And now facing the very gifted Khalil Green, one of the top shortstops in baseball that hardly anybody talks about. .250 during the season with 15 homers. He only committed 8 errors all year. And he's about, Steve Phillips, as good as it gets out there.
He really is. Very solid player, just fundamentally sound. Nobody talks about him because it's hard to get him to talk back. He just is a quiet guy, very unassuming, shows up to play. A very professional major league shortstop.
But a lot of big hits down the stretch. He certainly let the bat do the talking for the Padres, who needed every win they could get. They only won 82. Had a grand slam in the bottom of the 9th on September the 17th to beat Washington. A giant win for the Padres.
You know, there's a lot of talk about the record for the Padres at 82-80 this season in the regular season, but they had a lot of injuries. They lost Green for a good period of time with a broken toe and a broken finger. Loretta and others, they had pitching problems. So a lot of injuries with this team. They've had to overcome a lot of adversity.
Khalil Green taking ball 4 here. Injuries have been part of the story with Khalil Green. When he's in the lineup, he is outstanding, but he's been out from time to time. A fractured finger in September 13th of 04, missed 8 games. Did it again on April 16th, missed 22. A broken toe this year as well. Out on the 15-day disabled list. Those plays occurring around the bag at second base. Here's Joe Randa now, 276 with 17 homers during the season. His combined numbers between the Reds and the Padres. San Diego acquiring him from Cincinnati in July. Spent most of his career with the Kansas City Royals and finally got to the playoffs on Tuesday for the first time in his career. He had played the 3rd most regular season games of any active player to have never appeared in a postseason game. Over 1,400 of them before finally getting in to a playoff game on Tuesday, and he went 0 for 3.
Well, and you've got 2 guys on the San Diego Padre roster like that, Joe Randa and Pedro Estacio. And the only other player that's had more starts as a starting pitcher and not been in the postseason is Steve Traxel. You know, so 2 guys getting a taste of this postseason experience. You know, and Randa very similar to Loretta, solid player, not flashy, but 270, 280, going to hit you 15 home runs, 10 home runs. But he's been great against these St. Louis Cardinals. This year he's hit at a 422 clip, and over his career, 369 in 44 games.
Mulder walking Khalil Green with 1 out. And a count 1-1 on Randa. That's a strike. That's Bill Hahn behind the plate today. Bruce Dreckman, Jerry Lane, Angel Hernandez on the bases. Umpires down the left and right field lines as well. Tim Timmons and Eddie Montague.
You know, we talked about this Cardinal defense. They can turn double plays. 196 in the season. Mark Mulder induced 32 himself, working off that split to sinker.
Line drive, that's off Mulder. He can't see it. It rolls to the grass along the third base side. We'll have to find out if Mulder's okay, as he got drilled on a hit by Randa. Big Mark Mulder had no chance to get out of the way, and the Padres have runners at first and second. But the concern is for Mark Mulder.
Well, that ball looked like it got his left hand. You know, on the pitching side, obviously not good news for the Cardinals.
Well, Chris Carpenter had to leave his start in game 1 because he cramped up. He was having some problems physically as well.
It really doesn't look like he even saw it at all. You see the follow through right there. I mean, there's very little reaction. It looks like it gets him up in the arm, like the bicep, tricep area of his pitching arm. I mean, it makes it very difficult that when you take a shot off of that, that's going to swell up and bruise. A lot of question whether he's going to be able to stay in the game and pitch with it.
Well, the problem with that is as the innings go on, if he does stay in, it's going to get tighter and tighter and tighter. I mean, he may have the adrenaline right now where, oh, okay, maybe I can get by with it. But what you run into a situation, okay, if he starts to feel it, does he start to compensate? Does he start to alter things? That's where you can run into trouble.
Well, the fans cheering as he goes back to the hill to throw at least one toss here. And seemed to look okay there. We take another look at the line shot by Randa.
Well, it sure catches him flush in that arm, and as we see it come back, he reacts very late, like he didn't see it quite. Boy, I'll tell you what, I agree. He may get through this inning with all of the adrenaline pumping, but we'll see what he feels like if he sits down when the Cardinals get up to hit later, and how he comes back out.
Well, I'd even liken that to what happened with Jake Peavy the other day. I mean, he catches his spike, and maybe that's where he aggravated the rib injury, but he was still able to throw, and that's because you have the adrenaline. But as the adrenaline wears off, reality sets in.
Now he has to face a guy right after the line shot off of that left arm, whom he's never retired. Xavier Nady is a perfect 3 for 3 against Mulder. 2 on, 1 out. Goes after the first pitch and rolls it foul. Tony La Russa admitted to us in his office before the game that when Carpenter came up lame the other day, cramping up in that hand, dehydrated, first thought in his mind was, oh no, going back to last year and Carpenter's injury.
Well, remember, he had the nerve palsy in his arm last year and got shut down for the postseason, and he had to, at least the thought had to go through his mind again, and he admitted it did. Now, Tony's a pessimist at heart. I mean, he wants to, you know, he's knocking on wood all day long, trying to make sure things are all right.
He hit him with a pitch. Nady gets drilled. Mulder has loaded up the bases here on a hit batsman. They're all filled up with 1 down.
Well, and we're going to have to watch Mark Mulder and obviously see how he reacts after being struck by the ball with Ramon Hernandez. You know, what I said is he feels that in his arm, and obviously he's not as comfortable as he was previous to getting hit, and he's going to compensate. He's going to do things so he doesn't feel that pain or that discomfort on each pitch. And when you do things like that, your control may waver. You may put stress on some other part of your body. Tony La Russa and Dave Duncan will watch him closely.
Now, they're already calling down to the bullpen, and we see they're getting some action down there right now. And I think it's the smart thing to do. Even if Mulder comes off and he's okay, you have to protect yourself for the long term.
Jason Marquis, Russa told us before the game, would be his long man, and he is warming up immediately. Here's Ben Johnson. He takes the first pitch for ball 1. All filled up for the Padres, and a great early chance for San Diego.
Well, it is, but the thing is, you've got your rookie right fielder up at the plate right now. You know, what a position for this Ben Johnson to be in. His first postseason, first big league experience this year. Bases loaded against Mark Mulder.
He takes as that one drifts outside.
And this pitch we'll see right now about Ben Johnson and how he's able to control his emotions. 2-0 with the bases loaded, a young guy. most likely going to swing regardless. What he's got to do is be able to just zone in on a pitch.
Well, if I'm Bruce Bochy, I'm not letting his emotions come into play. I'm giving him a take sign right here.
He swings right through it, and it's 2-1.
I mean, I understand bases loaded, 1 out. You want to be aggressive, try to get on top, but I think you got to have some real questions about Mulder's health right here. You see him go with a fastball, or a changeup looks like off the plate right there. Johnson comes up, swings right over the top.
The only thing about taking in that situation, you got the pitcher on deck. Hitting somewhere else in the lineup, maybe.
2-2 as Mulder battles back to even the count.
Well, and that pitch is out of the zone, and that's what we're talking about, is the aggressiveness of the hitter. Mark Mulder is exploiting that right now.
It was Ramon Hernandez who struck out on 3 pitches in the 9th inning to end game 1 on Tuesday. That snuffed out the rest of the comeback for the Padres. Swing and a miss, and down goes Johnson. Mulder fans him in a huge spot. Boy, Mark Mulder really showing you something extra here.
Well, a good situation, too, for Mark Mulder in facing a rookie hitter for the San Diego Padres. Again, using the aggressiveness of the hitter against him. The 2-0 pitch was probably the only pitch that was a good pitch to hit. That last pitch was pretty good right down the middle. But the 2-1 pitch was away. Ben Johnson up there wanting to do something, unable to come through.
So now the pitcher, Pedro Estacio, never much of a hitter. Little topper, Mulder with it. Has to fire one more strike, and does, to get out of the jam. Mark Mulder survives in more ways than one. The line shot off his pitching arm. He comes back to strike out Johnson and gets Estacio to end it. Well, Cardinal fans delighted because the San Diego Padres squandered a great chance with an ailing pitcher on the hill. The bases loaded, 1 out. Mulder gets out of the jam, then went inside the dugout. Barry Weinberg, the trainer, working with him, and took him right down the tunnel into the clubhouse for some medical treatment on that arm.
Well, one of the things you're going to have to do with Mark Mulder, if he is to stay in the game, is to keep his arm warm and keep it loose.
Larry Walker starting the whole half of the second, 0-0. Although the Padres kicking themselves, they ought to have a couple of runs on the board. Walker fouls that one away. Larry Walker, .289 during the regular season with 15 home runs. But you look at his numbers against Pedro Estacio, 13 for 26. And Steve, there are a number of Cardinals who really eat him up.
Well, that's right. I mean, you've got a lot of guys in this lineup that see Estacio starting, and they start to get excited about it. Larry Walker's one of them. Pujols another. A lot of home run production. Reggie Sanders, 3 home runs as well. Larry Walker took 4 injections in his neck this year for a herniated disc. In order to play in a game like this against Estacio, look for him to try to deliver.
In there for strike 3. He's caught looking, although he didn't like the call from Bill Hahn. Thought the pitch was up, and he is called out on strikes. Estacio gets him this time.
But speaking to Ramon Hernandez earlier in the game, he said that he is going to have to establish the pitch inside the left-handed hitter so he can throw the changeup away. That pitch is difficult for the left-handers to hit because it runs back over the plate. It appears to be coming at you or coming over the inside part of the plate where you can't handle it. Then it moves over the plate. It's a sinker. In on righties, it'll break over the plate against lefties.
Well, here's the hero of game 1, Reggie Sanders. 6 RBIs in the first 5 innings of the first game on Tuesday. Highlighted by the grand slam in the 5th when Tony La Russa let him swing on a 3-0 pitch with the bases loaded.
Well, and I talked to a lot of guys on the St. Louis Cardinal Ball Club, and what they said, it's not so much that Tony let him hit 3-0, it's that Tony usually never gives the take 3-0.
Line drive caught by Green, nicely filling that hole to snag it for out number 2.
So it's up to the discretion of the hitter at the plate and in the situation. If Tony decides to give a take, he'll give a take, but he doesn't do it very often.
Well, Reggie Sanders, a very streaky hitter, and he is locked in right now. We saw it yesterday with the grand slam. Gets a good piece of that there. Reggie in his entire career has been a very streaky guy. When he gets hot, he gets really hot. Both home runs, doubles. He gets on base, does a lot of things. You never think injuries are a good thing, but Reggie Sanders, Larry Walker have missed a lot of time this year. And now that they're back, their legs are fresh. Talking to Hal McRae, the hitting coach, he said that when you talk about Reggie Sanders, his legs, when he gets tired, that's what leads him into his slumps. These guys being fresh really play to the advantage of the Cardinals.
Well, I don't know how much you believe in baseball momentum, but Estacio is doing everything he can to swing it back to the Padres after a disappointing top of the inning and a failure to get any runs for him. He's just gotten 2 hitters who have owned him in the past, got them rather quickly in Walker and Sanders, and Grudzelanic in his career has faced Pedro Estacio 50 times. He has 20 hits off him. That's a .400 average. If he gets him, all the momentum goes back to the Padres, you would think. And that is in there for a strike. 3-1. Mark Mulder, by the way, has returned to the dugout, so obviously he is planning to go back out there for the top of the 3rd after getting some treatment. Grounded to the 3rd baseman Randa, and he gets him. So an excellent inning for Pedro Estacio, one they really needed on the San Diego side. Mulder back out to work despite getting drilled on the arm by a line drive. We're scoreless. Top half of the 3rd inning getting underway as Eric Young takes a strike. Just got a beautiful look at the famous Gateway Arch, the gateway to the west here in St. Louis. These are desperate hours, though, for the San Diego Padres as Young drops down a bunt. Mulder tested, fires, and gets him. So since he hit the batter, Xavier Nady, to load up the bases in the 2nd inning, it's been virtually nothing but strikes out of Mark Mulder. That despite getting drilled on the bicep, his left bicep, on a wicked shot by Joe Randa that went for a single.
I expect Tony La Russa to monitor this very closely because he has one advantage that I think is better than anybody else in the postseason. He has 2 guys in his bullpen that have 30 starts between them, and Jeff Suppan and Jason Marquis. Nobody has that quality of length and depth of middle relievers in the postseason as do the Cardinals.
Well, and too, when you're talking about the success Mulder has had in the previous 3 hitters after getting hit, sometimes, he's got the arm discomfort right now. So now it's, well, don't try and do too much. Just go out there. And so now you kind of tone yourself down and you pitch better. You play better because you're not trying to overdo anything.
Well, the key hitter, of course, was Ben Johnson. Granted, a rookie, a number 8 hitter hitting in front of the pitcher, but he struck out as Mulder just ate him up. Johnson was pretty aggressive in the box. He wound up whiffing. Loretta lines that one to left field down into the corner. It drops down for a hit. Sanders picks it up. It'll be a single for Mark Loretta. And we go back to the last inning, which for a short time looked like that might be it for Mark Mulder. That was off the glove on a shot comeback. He made the play there at first base, but no way to get out of the way of this one.
Eric, with playing the day game and now with shadows starting to creep in, even for a lot of time, people have a hard time seeing. They think the advantage goes to the pitcher. But is Mulder having some difficulty seeing the ball coming off the bat?
Well, that ball was hit so hard, I don't think you could react, other than the way he reacted, and that's just wearing it right on the shoulder. Going with the shadows, though, where they play a factor, obviously, is up at the plate, and that's why
made the play on, and you can see the difference in the view as far as the shadows go between the pitcher and also the hitter. There's Giles' battle with those shadows right now as he takes outside for a ball.
Well, and some guys will wear sunglasses up at the plate. It first became famous when Tony Gwynn used to wear the Oakley sunglasses up at the plate to try and diffuse those shadows. Some guys don't like to wear glasses. I never used to like to wear glasses, but when those shadows came in, you just went up there and prayed for a fastball that hit your bat rather than you hitting the ball.
2-1 to count on Giles. Khalil Green up next.
Now, one thing we're seeing in this inning is that Mulder's going to his breaking pitch. The Padres said that they haven't seen Mulder throw a split over the last couple of weeks, the last several starts. If you're the Padres, do you just not even consider the split finger fastball anymore and just look for his other stuff?
Little dribbler toward third. Nunez cuts in front of short. On the first, dug out. Pujols with a fine play. Digs it out of the dirt at first, and the side is retired. Pujols, among all his other offensive accomplishments, is being touted for a Gold Glove here in St. Louis. He just might win it. He helps out his third baseman here. Those scores we get going in the home half of the third inning, and St. Louis batting amidst the shadows. That is Abraham Nunez, the switch hitting third baseman. He's done an outstanding job really filling in for Scott Rowland. A huge hole for the Cardinals, but he's filled it by hitting .285 up there on the left side, followed by Yadier Molina, the catcher. And then Mulder is going to have to swing the bat for the first time today since getting drilled.
Well, and speaking to Tony La Russa around the batting cage today, you know, he said Abraham Nunez has been his most pleasant surprise of this year's ball club. I mean, they figured bringing him in, be a utility guy, spot start here and there, but obviously he's been thrust into a role at third base. And Tony said they wouldn't be here without him.
Said it's a bit surprising because he was always a pretty good little utility player, but I never thought he's a guy that could play on a regular basis. Now, the Cardinals have the kind of lineup that can carry him, but he has played tremendous defense, which fits in exactly with the style of playing philosophy that Tony La Russa wants. A lot of sinker ball pitchers on the team. Catch the ball first. Whatever you give us on offense is icing on the cake, and he's been tremendously consistent for them this year.
He was 1 for 3 in the Game 1 Cardinal victory. He stings that one, but foul, as he rips it off to the right. 3 balls, 2 strikes.
Well, you hit it right on the head, Steve. I spoke to Hal McRae and I asked him, why does Nunez have success here? And he said, well, he's surrounded by great players. He just fits in. He doesn't feel like he's got to do a lot. He's surrounded by good people, great guys, and he's been put into a position to succeed, and he has.
The payoff from Estacio, and it's high for ball 4. A fine at bat for Nunez, and a fine defensive play by the first baseman Albert Pujols, who just doesn't get enough credit for how far he's come defensively.
Well, he really has improved, and it shouldn't be a surprise to anybody because of his work ethic. Everybody wants to talk about his offensive capabilities and what he can do, but defensively he has made himself into one of the premier defensive first basemen in the major leagues.
Here's Molina, one of the best defensive catchers in the game. But if you had a vote right now for Gold Glove in the National League at first, it's Pujols, let's say Derek Lee. Who wins it? Your former first baseman.
I would say Derek Lee, and the reason, just experience first and foremost, but also Derek Lee is a bigger target. He's probably a bit more agile, covers more ground, but that's not to say that Albert Pujols isn't a Gold Glove award-winning first baseman.
But only one can win it as Nunez gets back in. Molina for the season, 252 with 8 homers, 49 runs batted in. Mulder will follow him. We have no score in the third inning. Game 2 of this National League Division Series here on ESPN2 beginning just after 3 o'clock St. Louis time. And so those shadows are very much a factor on this autumn afternoon. The runner goes, and it's fouled away by Molina.
You know, Dave, you talked about brothers playing, Marcos Giles and Brian Giles. Well, Yadier Molina has some brothers playing as well, his 2 brothers catching for the Los Angeles Angels. And you talk about some breeding with the parents there. I mean, clearly mom and dad had to be catchers in their careers as well, because 3 fine young major league catchers and big important players on playoff teams.
The day the Molina brothers all came home from the hospital, mom and dad just put a catcher's mitt apparently right in that crib, and that was it. They had no choice on what position they were going to play, or what sport for that matter. The 1-1 breaking ball hammered to short, misplayed by Green, may have taken a bad hop. It's into center. Molina's on, and Nunez is into scoring position with nobody out.
Well, that ball just ate up Khalil Green. He got himself into a situation where he couldn't fluidly move through the ball. He kind of got himself where he had to just stand and wait for the ball to get to him, and it just took a bad hop and shot off his left shoulder. Now, that's not going to happen very often, but when you become standstill as an infielder, you're going to run into trouble. And he was starting to come through the ball, and then he just stopped, and the ball played him. You're supposed to play the ball, not let the ball play you. A lot easier said than done, though.
We'll see how much it hurts. You do have the pitcher Mulder coming up, but of course, if you're Tony Graffinino, what are you thinking about the minute you open your eyes this morning? First and second, he's bunting, and he has not bunted well as he fouls that one away. This is pretty amazing. For a guy to be a regular in the Cardinal rotation all season and have exactly 1 sacrifice bunt is pretty startling.
It really is. I mean, clearly Tony La Russa plays this game with his pitchers, and if you want to be effective and win big time in the National League, you have to do multiple things. It's not just about pitching. It's holding runners and fielding your position and handling the bat. This is a critical situation. They need Mulder to get the ball down.
Fouls it away. He's quickly in the hole 0-2. Of course, he got drilled by the liner, Duke Castiglione, off the bat of Joe Randa.
That's right, Dave. Right when he came into the dugout, the Cardinals training staff put what looked to be a big heating pad around that left upper arm. Mulder went right down in the tunnel, out of sight. When he came back to get in the on-deck circle, no pad on the arm.
Trainers working on him, and that's exactly what Duke was talking about last inning. And that thing is huge. He does drop down the bunt with 2 strikes on it. A sacrifice for Mulder to push Nunez to third and Molina to second. Listen to this hand on a sac bunt from the pitcher.
Well, that's the St. Louis fans here. I mean, there's probably no better place to play if you're on the home team than in St. Louis. I mean, they appreciate baseball. They understand baseball. And if you work hard, go out, hustle, execute, you will be received proudly here in St. Louis.
It's also an educated crowd knowing that that's not really the best part of his game, and the fact that he executed it in the playoffs, that's what they're trying to say. We recognize you did something you're not very good at.
Here's David Eckstein. He singled in the first inning in his first career at bat against Pedro Estacio. Only 1 man out. Of course, there should be more than that after the error by Khalil Green, a rare error by the San Diego shortstop.
David Eckstein leading the National League with runners in scoring position, hitting .373 on the season. He doesn't hit it out of the park, but he gets a lot of big base hits.
And you know he'll put the bat on the ball because he never strikes out. A wave and a miss there, and it's 1-1. 1 down, runners at second and third, and a threat for the Cardinals in a scoreless game 2 of this National League Division Series.
Well, Eckstein's so tough. You'll see him foul a lot of balls right over the Cardinals dugout down the first baseline. He just waits for that ball to get as deep in the zone as he can and try to punch it to right field. If they come in, he'll fight it off. Great plate coverage.
Nub foul, and now he's behind in the count. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Estacio with that trademark arm wiggle of his as he drops down that right arm before delivering the pitch.
Well, and he's done that his entire career. You know, a lot of people talk about, well, maybe it's sore, maybe he's having issues. He's done that from day one. It's not anything that, you know, that's just the way he's pitched. No, it's not anything out of the ordinary. He does it all year long.
Fly ball to right along the line. Johnson moving toward the stands, reaches in, but it's a foul ball. He banged up hard against that side wall. No play there. 1 ball, 2 strikes on Eckstein.
Well, that has the potential to be a dangerous play right there for Johnson going to the wall. He catches it and runs into the wall. You may see both runners tag and score on a play like that. Certainly Jose Oquendo would be moving down the baseline and giving Molina, who does not have great speed, at least a look to see if he might score 2 guys on a sacrifice fly.
And I know it's early in the game, but it brings up the debate. Don't you just let it go? Don't try to make the catch, because 2 men could score. And this is a San Diego team that scuffles for runs as it is. 1 out here. Nice play by Nady. He's up and gunning to the plate. The tag. Safe. Nunez gets in. And the Cardinals lead it 1-0. Bruce Bochy out to argue the call made by Bill Hahn at home plate.
Well, that's a great play by Nady, and you know, some may say, well, how come he didn't go to first? Well, he didn't have alternative because Estacio didn't get off the mound to cover first, and he probably wasn't going to be able to get up and beat Eckstein to first base. You know, Nady makes a diving play. There's nowhere to flip, nobody to flip it to. Estacio not even in your screen. He comes home, makes a great throw. Not really anything he could do in that situation.
Well, it looked like Estacio almost started to go back up the play, thinking the ball was going to go through, but you're right, he's not covering first. No chance there. Ramon Hernandez couldn't quite get the tag on as his foot gets the home plate.
The Padre reaction, Bochy quickly out of the dugout, but it looked like Nunez just outran the throw and got in there to make it 1-0. Runners at first and third. Eckstein safely aboard at first in the fielder's choice, and here's Edmonds. He takes inside for a ball.
Well, and in this young series so far, what we've seen, the St. Louis Cardinals take advantage of opportunities. In game one, the Padres had opportunities in the second and the third inning. They didn't score. We saw earlier today, bases loaded. Don't come away with anything. Anytime St. Louis gets guys on, they're able to get them in.
In tight for ball 2.
And the thing that makes the Cardinals a scary team is they take advantage of mistakes and opportunities, and then they have the potential to hit a 3-run home run and really separate themselves in a game. That's the firepower of this offense and the veteran professional players that they have.
The 2-0 from Estacio missed away. One more like that, and the bases are going to be loaded up for arguably the best hitter in the majors in Albert Pujols. And of course, one key in the inning, the miscue by the usually sure-handed Khalil Green on the ball hit by Molina. 3-0. Inside for ball 4, and they're filled up for Albert. Times in his regular season career, Albert Pujols has crushed a grand slam. 364 with the bases loaded.
Well, and as a pitcher, you still have to minimize the damage here. Don't give Pujols anything over the plate where this can be a 4-run swing. Still nibble. If you end up walking him, you end up walking it. It's only 1 run.
Ball 1.
I mean, right now it's a 1-0 ball game. Say, for instance, you walk Pujols, it's 2-0, then maybe you can induce a double play. The thing you don't want to do is feel like you got to throw a ball over the middle of the plate just to throw a strike. As I said, it could be a 4-run swing.
Well, my problem is if I'm Estacio and I look at Larry Walker and the numbers he's put up on me hit behind Pujols, I'm like, where do I go? That's the strength of his lineup. Pujols has hit into 19 double plays this year.
And 1 already today, but he takes ball 2. Of course, pitchers have long memories about these things, and Pedro Estacio will be the first one to tell you Albert Pujols has 3 home runs off of Estacio. Everybody up on the top step for St. Louis. Bases loaded, 1 out. Down low for ball 3. He does not want to throw him anything in the hitting area.
Well, this lineup can make a pitcher want to miss bats, and that's right now. Estacio had 7 straight balls he's delivered to the plate. He's got it. One thing we found out, Albert Pujols will swing at this pitch on a 3-0 count if he gets it. Reggie Sanders did it yesterday, and clearly Tony La Russa has given the green light to Albert Pujols.
Yeah, Sanders' grand slam in game 1 came on a 3-0 pitch. He's taking all the way, and it's a strike.
Well, and some hitters don't like to hit 3-0. You know, speaking to Hal McRae, he said everybody is going to be able to swing away unless Tony puts on the take. But he said just because you're allowed to swing away, there are certain even veteran hitters that don't like to swing 3-0.
He takes down low for ball 4, and that'll force in a run. Molina to trot home to make it 2-0. It's the 3rd walk in the inning issued by Pedro Estacio. Darren Balsley, the pitching coach, will head on out to the hill. We discussed it when he came on the air today, though, Steve, that Pedro Estacio needed in the most important start of his career to come up big. And he's come up short in this inning. Also, his defense has faltered a little bit, but he's behind 2-0.
Well, he is, and right now he better buckle down because this thing could really get away from him right now. Larry Walker's put up huge numbers against him so far this year, and part of winning playoff baseball is when you make mistakes, you got to pick your teammate up. He needs a ground ball double play right here, or Larry Walker could put this thing out of reach.
In there for strike 1. Walker struck out looking in the 2nd inning, although he thought the pitch was high. 7 career grand slams for Larry, who is 13 for 27 with 2 home runs lifetime against Estacio. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Well, the one thing you can say about Pedro Estacio is he is going to battle. He is not going to give in. He doesn't care what the situation is. He's going to fight till the very end. And he has not really been hit around. Sure, he's given up some walks, but they've been infield singles and an infield error.
Popped up, twisting foul out of play off the bat of Walker.
Yeah, that's right. 2 runs given up. The ball's not been hit out of the infield yet in this inning, and that's a problem though, because sooner or later this Cardinal offense is going to step up and get the hit. He needs to put an end to this now, because the Padres do not have the kind of offense to come back big in a game. They don't have the kind of firepower. We saw they have to bunch base runners together to push runs across. They need to keep it as close as they can.
Estacio desperately needs a strikeout here. 1 ball, 2 strikes on Walker. 2-2.
Well, and the thing with Pedro Estacio, he's a guy that he doesn't miss a lot of bats. He's not a strikeout pitcher. He's a guy that you just don't square up and hit well. You hit a lot of ground balls. So ideally, when you're in these situations, you like to have a power pitcher out on the mound to get you out. He's going to have to induce a double play.
3-2 on Walker.
Well, you see Estacio going inside on Walker in that at bat. He came inside to get the strike 3 the first time up. And there's a guy who knows how to hit with the bases loaded, as we saw in game 1.
Reggie Sanders, a grand slam in the first game, 6 RBIs. He's on deck. A Cardinal at every base. 1 out. Swing and a miss, and Walker strikes out for the second time. Estacio gets him again, but here comes Reggie Sanders. Estacio not out of it yet. In game 1, Reggie Sanders with 6 RBIs, a new division series single game record, the grand slam in the 5th inning, the big blow.
Well, it really was, and that was, it accounted for 4 runs. And the St. Louis Cardinals, they had the 1 run by Jimmy Edmonds, a home run in the first inning. The next 3 runs, it wasn't as if they were banging the ball all over the ballpark. That sure was a key hit. But again, we come to today, it's not as if St. Louis is hitting the ball all around this ballpark.
Then again, Estacio is not giving him much of a chance. He's walked 3 in the inning, including 1 man with the bases loaded. Can he get out of it? It's inside for a ball. 2-0 St. Louis.
The one thing to keep in mind now, Mulder's been sitting on the bench for an awfully long time right now. And Eric, you talked earlier about the possible stiffness that can set in. We'll see how he responds when he comes back out.
For Pedro Estacio, the Wolf is at the door in the 3rd inning of game 2. On the inside corner, and Sanders can't believe it. A called strike to make it 1-1.
Well, this is a sinker that just runs in, and Reggie Sanders dives into the plate, so that ball feels like it's coming in and probably in off the plate. Bill Hahn, not the most consistent of umpires. He's a guy that when you go up to the plate, you know you're going to have to swing the bat as a hitter.
Estacio now will take a step off the rubber, with Eckstein, Edmonds, and Pujols filling the bases for the Central Division champs.
Now, Bill Hahn, the home plate umpire, has that scissors position behind the plate. It's the inside strike today that's been the issue. He's either called them or not called them, and had arguments from both clubs.
Breaking ball, he went after it and rattled it foul off to the left, so Estacio has the upper hand as Mark Mulder, injured earlier in this game, but he hung in there after getting drilled on the left bicep by a Joe Randall line drive. Watches from the bench.
But he's got his arm wrapped, and that's just to keep it warm. There's probably a contrast in the clubhouse. Maybe he's putting a little ice, getting a little heat, just to keep the blood flowing. Probably predominantly those big heat pads, though, to keep it warm.
The Cardinals have scored twice in the inning without the benefit of a hit. 3 walks and an error. And now Estacio will step off again. Khalil Green made that error on a bounding ball by Molina.
Eric, we talk about the shadows for the hitter. Now that ground ball to Green for the infielders as well. Do the shadows come into play with being able to read the velocity of the ground ball?
Well, it does sometimes, but mostly in big games where you have trouble is the fans. Fortunately here in St. Louis, it's all red, so that provides a good background.
Outside, Sanders wouldn't chase. Now, in past seasons, the way to get Reggie Sanders out was to run it up the ladder with a good fastball, and invariably he would chase on a 2-2 count like this. But Steve, does he have that pitch?
Well, he can throw it. I think when Reggie Sanders locks in, he either knows to take that pitch or he'll fight it off and get the next pitch of the at bat. He seems really locked in right now. Now he's having a little difficulty picking it up, but he is really, over the last week and a half of the season, Hal McRae said, gotten his stride back.
But he swings and misses for strike 3. Did not get a piece of it, and down he goes. Anastasio fights his way out of the trouble. He strikes out Walker and Sanders back to back. It is 2-0 St. Louis. Top half of the fourth inning, Khalil Green stings a line drive base hit right by Nunez, the third baseman. So Green, who made an important error, trying to help clean that up, has himself a single to start this inning in front of Joe Randa. The Cardinals up 2-0 in an inning that came very close to exploding on Pedro Estacio and the Padres, but they're still in it because Estacio is flat out gutsy as he whiffed Walker and Sanders. Bases loaded, 1 out. He got those 2 tough hitters back to back on strikeouts to hang in there.
Well, a real gutsy effort on his part. There's no question. He threw 38 pitches, though, in that third inning. And where the Cardinals didn't break it open, they're starting to wear them down. And the advantage, though, for the Padres, they do have a deep bullpen that they're going to have to get into fairly early. I don't think Bruce Bochy's going to wait for Estacio to try to get him 6 innings, 7 innings. When he starts to bend again, look for that pen to get some action.
No, and especially with a day off before Saturday's ball game, there's no reason. You've got to win this game today if you're the Padres.
Ground ball to short. Next time, nice stop to Grzelcyk one. An easy turn by Grzelcyk on the Pujols for the double play. A hot shot by Randa, who in the second inning lined one off the arm of Mark Mulder. This one into a double play.
Well, and this is what we talked about on the opening, the great defense up the middle of the St. Louis Cardinals and their ability to turn double plays. And it's very rare that you get 2 guys in David Eckstein, Mark Grzelcyk, who have never played alongside one another. You bring them in, and then to have the success that they've had this year, and it just doesn't happen. And it's a credit to both of those guys.
Xavier Nady steps in, takes a breaking ball inside. We saw Eckstein there covering his eyes from the sun. We've had the players today battling shadow and now intense sunshine coming off the right field side of the ballpark. That one is chopped to the middle. Grzelcyk charges, has it, gets it. Very quick inning for Mark Mulder. And a very short rest for Estacio, who needed a much longer one. He won't get it. Cardinals leading 2-0 in the fourth. National League Division Series game number 2 here on ESPN2 and from St. Louis on a sun-drenched afternoon. The St. Louis Cardinals have the lead and the Padres are getting desperate here. Pedro Estacio with a terrific effort in the third inning to get out of a jam, but he created a lot of that by walking 3 men, including Albert Pujols with the bases loaded. Grzelcyk starting the fourth inning. He's 0 for 1 and he is 0 for 5 so far in this series. And even though Estacio allowed 2 runs, he did not give up a hit in that third frame. And he's only given up 1 hit all day. As Grzelcyk waves right through it. Nunez up next, and then Yadier Molina.
Well, Grzelcyk was a great pickup for this club. Tony Womack left to go to the Yankees, and they brought in Grzelcyk. He's been solid defensively, and offensively, he's always been a slasher, a guy that he goes up hacking, trying to put the ball in play. But he's a guy that's been very versatile, hitting in a lot of different spots in La Russa's lineup.
He slices that one foul down into the corner. And a count 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Well, Mark Grzelcyk, he's what you call a gamer. He's going to go out there and play injured. He's going to give you 110%. And probably of all the second basemen in the big leagues, has the best arm. This guy is a former shortstop, and that comes into play when you're turning the double play.
1-2 hammered foul. The Cardinals haven't lost a postseason series in which they won game 1 since the 1985 World Series. They've won their last 6 postseason series when winning the first game, and they took game 1 8-5 on Tuesday. And ahead here in game 2, 2-0. Eric Karros, Steve Phillips, Dave O'Brien, and Duke Castiglione with you. As autumn has most certainly arrived here in St. Louis, the temperature dropped about 20 degrees off of game 1.
Well, instead of red T-shirts, they're wearing red sweatshirts today at the ballpark, but it's still red.
Little looper, that's going to find home in right field. Dunked down for a single. Grudzielanek on with a base hit. Just the second Cardinal hit today against Estacio. Well, they didn't believe the barrier could be broken. They didn't know. Roger Bannister, the inspirational story of Bannister's quest to break the 4-minute mile. 4 minutes, an ESPN2 original movie. It premieres tonight, right after the game on ESPN2. 4 minutes, also available in high definition on ESPN2 HD. And when you think about that accomplishment, as Grudzielanek leads, and there's a shot to right by Nunez, backing up Johnson. He reaches up and can't get it, and it skips up into the bullpen. Nunez will have a double. Grudzielanek has to stop at third, and that one ate up the rookie Johnson in right field.
Well, one of the toughest balls for an outfielder, something directly over your head. Ben Johnson has not been out in right field a lot for this San Diego Padre ball club. This ball was smoked directly over his head. Johnson running back just wasn't able to cut it down. Gets over the wall, and fortunately for the Padres, it did bounce over the wall. Otherwise, Grudzielanek would have easily scored.
Well, one of the problems Johnson had is he kind of cruised back on the ball instead of running to a spot and trying to get to where it was coming down. He mistimed himself. A lot of young outfielders say that when they come to the major leagues, one of the biggest adjustments is the third tier to the stadium. Minor league stadiums don't have 3 levels. That adjustment is something they have to make and learn from while they're playing.
Inside for ball 1 on Molina. It's also one of the things that big leaguers talk about, the difference between spring training and going into the regular major league park when a regular season starts. All of a sudden you've got these gigantic ballparks and people in upper decks, and you haven't seen that all spring.
Well, it's that third deck theory. It says you're never playing in front of a third deck.
Ground ball knocked down by Nady. Coming home again. The throw to the plate. The tag. Safe again. Grudzielanek got in. That's the second time that's happened today. The Cardinals beating a throw to the plate from Xavier Nady, and it's 3-0 St. Louis.
Well, that was a nice play by Nady. Made a good throw to Hernandez. Grudzielanek just got his foot in there. Hernandez wasn't able to block the plate. Grudzielanek got by, but that was a bright play. The ball clearly beats him. Hernandez unable to block the plate. A lot of catchers will plant their foot or be able to drop a knee and protect home plate. Hernandez unable to do that in that situation. Grudzielanek gets in.
Well, the problem on Hernandez on that play, you see Tony La Russa happy the run scores, but Hernandez kept his back leg that was in front of the plate straight. He didn't bend it. You're right. Most of the time, the catcher will then drop that leg to take the plate away from the runner. He kind of bent over on the leg and didn't have a chance to get the tag down.
So Molina becomes the runner at first base. Nunez scoots down to third. Here's Mulder squaring to bunt. He's already dropped down a sacrifice bunt today. One more look at the play.
As you see the throw come home, you see Hernandez catch it, but he needs to drop that knee, his left knee. He bends and tries to rotate over it right there. You have no chance to quickly get the tag down. There's no way he's going to get the tag down right there. Good base running, good slide, but he's got to take away the plate.
Abraham Nunez scored on a very similar play in the third inning as he beat the throw by Nady, who had made a diving stop. The double fake, no one biting, nobody out, and 3-0 St. Louis. And Bochy and the Padres can feel it slipping away here in game 2.
Well, and again, what we talk about, the Cardinals take advantage of opportunities. They make the other club beat themselves. And St. Louis has been doing it all year long.
Mulder not bunting, takes a strike, and it's 0-2.
Well, one of the key situational hitting fundamentals is getting the runner in from third base with less than 2 outs. Sometimes it's about the hitter, but sometimes it's also about base running. We saw good base running on that play, getting a good break to try to score. But in playoff games, it's little things. It's not always home runs. It is the base running and the fundamentals.
0-2 outside as Mulder takes it. Bullpen activity. Hensley's up again. The right-hander for the second time in this contest.
And it's not like the fundamentals and the little things aren't important during the regular season. It's just that they're magnified during the playoffs. Everybody wants to look at those things.
In there for strike 3 as Mulder will take a seat. That's the first out in the inning as he's caught looking.
Lastasio going with a breaking ball, and this is what he did the previous inning with the bases loaded. He struck Larry Walker out on a breaking ball and then was able to induce Reggie Sanders also on a breaking pitch. That's the pitch that has been his out pitch. It's also a pitch you go to when there are shadows, because as a hitter, it's very difficult to pick up the spin on the ball. And that's, I could never understand when I was playing. I'd go to the mound sometimes when a guy would repeatedly throw fastballs and say, hey, look, go with the breaking ball, because I can tell you right now, you cannot see up at the plate.
Especially with a pitcher hitting. You throw a breaking ball to the pitcher, a lot of times they just freeze up and watch it go by.
Molina getting back in. Abraham Nunez, the runner at third. Another run in for St. Louis. They've touched up Lastasio for a single and a double in this inning, and some more aggressive base running to home plate. Eckstein 1 for 2, and a breaking ball missed inside.
All right, so all of the base runners the Cardinals have had on base today, they're 0 for 5 with runners in scoring position with 3 RBIs. That tells you they're not getting the hits, but they're executing situational hitting fundamentals. They're getting productive outs to get the runs in.
Eckstein during the regular season, 373 with men in scoring position. A squeeze bunt, got it down. Lastasio will go to first as the run comes in. La Russa, brilliant again. A great spot for that play, and it's 4-0 St. Louis. Eckstein gets down the bunt, and Nunez scores easily from third base.
And no better player to do it than with David Eckstein up at the plate. I mean, the acquisition of Eckstein, it can't even be measured for the St. Louis Cardinal Ball Club. He gets the key hits. He executes. He is a fundamentally sound baseball player. Everything that Tony La Russa wants in a player on his ball club. He does it again.
Cardinals showing you what a complete ball club they have been all season long, as they were last year. Jocketty, and one of Walt Jocketty's great acquisitions this season was David Eckstein. Not only on the field, but what he brings to the team inside the clubhouse as a heart and soul glue guy.
Well, I did a game here early in the season and talked to Jose Oquendo. They were a little concerned about the loss of Edgar Renteria at shortstop, but they didn't know Eckstein as well as they know him right now. And I tell you what, they all still respect Renteria, but they love Eckstein right now, what he means to this team.
In tight at the elbow, Jim Edmonds, a runner at second. 4-0 Cardinals. Edmonds on a day has popped out to short and taken ball 4.
You know, Eckstein's not a speed guy. He's not a power guy. He's a baseball player that does all the little things you need to do in a game to help you win. A very valuable commodity on a team.
2 balls and 1 strike on Edmonds. And then you get right into the heart of this dangerous Cardinal lineup. Albert Pujols, Larry Walker, Reggie Sanders. And it's starting to turn into a long day for Pedro Lastasio. 2 down. Looping liner, but foul. Off into that sea of red. You think about the way the Cardinals have scored today. A bases loaded walk, a couple of fielders' choice plays, some aggressive base running, and the suicide squeeze as well. A beautiful day in St. Louis. It is game 2 of this National League Division Series from Busch Stadium. The Cardinals leading 1-0, and out in front by a healthy margin all of a sudden here in the 4th inning behind Mark Mulder, especially the way the lefty is pitching, up 4-0.
When you look in this series, 12 runs have been scored by the St. Louis Ball Club. Outside of the grand slam by Reggie Sanders, which was one swing, it's not as if they've just been offensively dismantling the Padres. The Padres have beat themselves.
Two out. Here's the 2-2 to Edmonds. He buried that pitch, knocked down by Hernandez, and a full count now on Jim Edmonds.
See, and you're right, Eric, but that's the bad news for the Padres, because this offense cannot be held down for too long, and sooner or later they are going to start scoring runs because they are getting their hit, they are driving the ball and doing their things. That's what's scary about this situation.
Hensley appears ready to come into the game if necessary. Lastasio trying not to walk Edmonds for the 2nd time in a row. He has walked 3 in the game. Hot shot, friendly bounce there to Loretta. and Edmonds is retired. But it's a second straight 2-run inning for St. Louis. Tony La Russa somewhere in that dugout will be joining us in just a moment here on ESPN2. Well, the sun blazing away in St. Louis, and so are the Cardinals. They have a 4-0 lead over the San Diego Padres. Delighted to have Tony La Russa, the Cardinals skipper, with us. So, Tony, thanks for joining us. First of all, about Mulder, after taking that line drive off the arm, how is he telling you in between innings he's feeling right now?
Well, he said, you know, it's sore. It's in the bicep, so it wasn't a joint. That's the one that would have probably put him out of the game. We're going to track it. If it gets not just sore but stiff, then we got to get him.
And Nunez, a hit and run when Grzelcyk on first base?
Yeah, it's really a sign of respect for Estacio. You know, we're just trying to get something in the scoring position, try to add on, and sometimes you catch a break, you get more.
Well, Tony, as you continue to monitor Mulder's health during this game, is there a point where you say, you know what, I've got to keep in mind the big picture for the long term and his health and our goals for this postseason?
Well, you know, what's true about the long run is true about the short. You know, we need 15 outs, so we're going to watch him real close. If he labors, we'll go to somebody else.
Tony, thanks so much for being with us.
Okay.
Thanks, Tony.
Tony La Russa's team out 4-0, and he has put down a sacrifice squeeze sign that the Cardinals did not miss. Eckstein laying that down beautifully. It's a very creative crowd here in St. Louis, working on the pumpkins. They expect to be working on those deep into October, don't they?
They sure do. You know, we talked about the squeeze play. You know, teams get scouting reports on players on the club. They talk about what the pitchers throw and everybody else, but there are also scouting reports on the managers. Every scouting crew that goes out, advanced scouting, comes back with the tendencies of managers. The squeeze bunt is a big part of the evaluation of Tony La Russa. We saw it with Phil Garner and the Houston Astros. It's a big part of his game as well. But this offense, he has certain players that they go to, but that's something that other teams key on as well.
Ben Johnson foul tips that one to the mitt to strike out for the second time. He struck out with the bases loaded in the second inning in a very aggressive at bat. A couple of different schools of thought there. He has whiffed twice and left the bases loaded for Pedro Estacio, who grounded back to the pitcher. I mean, even the shadows here at Busch Stadium look like the carvings of a pumpkin, don't they? Well, that's going to do it for Pedro Estacio. He is done after 4 innings, giving up 4 runs on 3 hits. Damian Jackson hits for him. So the starting pitcher, biggest game of Estacio's career, you could argue, is finished.
Well, and he did not pitch that poorly. I mean, was it vintage Pedro Estacio or what he's done this past month? No, it wasn't. But you know, it wasn't as bad as what it looks like up on the scoreboard. A couple of infield balls that they weren't able to make the play at home plate and air. Couple that with a few walks, but it wasn't like St. Louis was running up to the plate and beating the ball around.
Line shot base hit by Jackson coming off the bench, and he stings a single. So the Padres have a base runner. The best thing that could happen to San Diego right now is to get a quick score here in the 5th inning.
Oh, that's right. Just to get some momentum shifted back around right there. Damian Jackson comes up, versatile utility man. Not much of a stride, just waiting to see the ball and trying to drive it into left field. Good piece of hitting. Now they flip over the top of the lineup. They need to try to do something to get things going right here. Even down 4-0, they need to be aggressive.
Eric Young 0 for 2. He's grounded out to short and back to the pitcher. Eric Young now 38 years old. At one time back in his Colorado and Dodger and Cubs days, he regularly stole 50 bases a year on average.
Well, he could flat out run, and I remember playing a game against the Colorado Rockies. He stole 6 bases against our Los Angeles Dodger ball club in one game. Not over the weekend, in one game.
So he got down to first base, you said hi, and he was gone.
Well, you know what was funny is I used to tease him once in a while. I'd get down there, I'd say, Eric, EY, this is a good pitch to run on. This is a good pitch. Go right here. And I'd tell him the truth, and he wouldn't believe me. He'd think I was messing around with him.
Jackson getting his lead, the 2-0 pitch. Hammered towards short. Eckstein zips it to second run. Great turn by Grzelcyk. Boy, did he hang in there. Jackson barreling down on him. And a twin killing. We're going to talk to Woody Williams when we come back to St. Louis with the Cardinals in front 4-0 of the Padres. Back in St. Louis, and for the Cardinals, a 4-0 lead over the San Diego Padres. Woody Williams is getting ready for his Game 3 start against Matt Morris at Petco in San Diego on Saturday. Joining us now, Woody, thanks for being with us. And first of all, what's the impact of Jake Peavy's situation and his injury on your ball club?
I don't know a whole lot about the details, but I know he is hurting a little bit, and I'm not sure when it happened or to the extent his injury is, and I'm sure right now they're just doing the best they can to get him back on the field.
Woody, I spoke to Tony La Russa prior to the game, and he said that as far as big game pitchers go, he hasn't managed many better than you, especially with your start against Backey last year. He is worried about you.
That's a great compliment, but we got to get there. We got to try to grind this one out today and hopefully get back there 1-1.
But Woody, that game on Saturday would clearly be a big game, not only because of the postseason, but who knows where you'll stand in the series there. How do you approach this Cardinals lineup, which has a lot of thunder?
Well, it's definitely tough. We have to be good mentally and got to go out there and do the things we're capable of doing and making plays in the field and trying to keep guys off bases. But you definitely can't walk guys and make errors.
Woody, thanks so much for joining us. Good luck in your start on Saturday.
Thank you.
Thank you, Woody.
Woody Williams, 9-12 during the regular season. He'll be opposed by 14-10 Matt Morris on Saturday. A couple of changes here for the Padres. Jackson stays in the ball game to play center field as Giles remains in. He moves over to right, and Hensley finally gets into the ball game as he will do the pitching against Albert Pujols, Larry Walker, and Reggie Sanders in this inning.
Well, Hensley has thrown well for the San Diego Padres, especially down the stretch. I mean, opponents only hitting 195. He's got good stuff and will be an integral part of this ball club in the future.
Well, it's his first inning of work, but it's his third inning he's throwing today because he's throwing a couple innings down in the bullpen today. But listen, right now with the day off tomorrow, he'll leave it out there.
Hensley's pitch misses outside on Albert Pujols, so on the day has hit into a double play and also walked with the bases loaded when Estacio wanted no part of him in the third inning. The Cardinals scored twice without the benefit of a hit in that inning. This is rattled up the middle. A diving stab by Green up and throws safe. That pulled Nady off the bag. Well, a marvelous stab by Khalil Green. It'll still be a base hit for Albert Pujols.
Well, this is some kind of effort right here by Khalil Green. Shows great range to his left. Ball hit fairly hard up the middle. Great range to his left. He dives, but look how quickly he gets to his feet, knowing that Pujols runs pretty well for a big guy. Gets it down there, just pulls Nady off the base. Probably had a hair of a second more to make a good throw.
Well, it is a great play by Khalil Green, and that's why that error earlier in the game was so surprising. I mean, one of the most athletic shortstops in the game, and can also swing the bat. I mean, he can do it all and will be a superstar in the future.
Larry Walker 0 for 2. Now, when the afternoon started, he was all smiles because Pedro Estacio was on the mound, and he was a .500 career hitter against Estacio in 26 at bats, but Pedro struck him out both times. Now he gets a look at Hensley, puts it in play to the shortstop. Green to Loretta, got one on the first, not in time. No twin killing there. Pujols out the middle. And let's go downstairs to Duke Castiglione. Duke.
Fellas, you might notice Reggie Sanders, usually clean shaven, has a beard. Like a lot of hockey players during the playoffs, Reggie vowing not to shave until they win it all. And I asked him, well, how's Mrs. Sanders like it? He said she does not like it at all, but I'm going to stay with it.
That's the key question. What does the missus think of it?
That's always the key question. You know, that double play ball right there, they don't quite turn it. Walker beats it out at first. Cardinals have turned 5 double plays in the last 2 games. That ground ball to me would look like one that the Cardinals would have turned and been able to get out of an inning where the Padres weren't able to do it.
Well, I think that illustrates the point. Mark Grudzielanek having such a strong arm at second base, a former shortstop, his ability to turn the ball. I mean, Mark Loretta did a great job of getting rid of the ball and getting it to first, but he does not have the arm strength of a Mark Grudzielanek, and that's what makes Mark Grudzielanek so valuable to your ball club.
Big swing and a miss. Foul tip to the mid, actually, off the bat of Sanders, and a count 0-2.
Reggie's wondering how he missed that one. He said, it looked so good up in my eyes right there when I swung at it. Well, how did I miss it? You see his eyes light up in the zone. He had visions of the ball he hit out of the park in game 1. Swung underneath.
Reggie struck out in the third inning with the bases loaded. So he's certainly getting his chances, and man, did he capitalize in game 1 with 6 RBIs. Walker at first. That is inside for a ball. Larry Walker, one of the best base runners really in recent Major League history. I mean, instinctually, there may be none better.
Well, really one of the best baseball players in the last 10, 15 years. I mean, when he was healthy, the way he played right field, the way he would induce runners to run, by the way he played a ball off the wall or would fake playing a ball off the wall. I mean, he was unbelievable. And then the running the bases, as you said, those are things that you don't teach.
Well, part of the instincts of being a base runner is checking in on the catcher, seeing if he can't pick up a sign if they're going to throw over. That's what he's doing, shifting his eyes to the plate, trying to get some advantage of what Ramon Hernandez is doing.
Fouled off by Sanders. Grudzielanek to hit next. 1 out here. 4-0 the Cardinals in the 5th inning.
Well, Larry Walker, there's no telling what the numbers would have looked like if he had been able to stay healthy. I mean, the production, he hits for power, he had speed, he was an outstanding defensive player as well. All the tools in the game, and he's also a veteran guy on a quality Major League team and a lot of value. He's not swinging the bat very well today, but he will produce at some point this postseason.
Walker produced last year in the postseason against the Boston Red Sox. He was one of the Cardinals who did swing the bats, although the Red Sox famously swept the Cardinals 4 straight. Walker really hit the ball well. A high fly to right field and an easy play for Giles. Out number 2, but go back to the postseason of 2004 for Larry Walker, and in the World Series he clobbered the Boston Red Sox and Tim Wakefield in game number 1.
And when healthy, one of the most prolific hitters in the last 10, 15, 20 years. And as Steve said, if it wasn't for injuries, just imagine, I mean, the numbers are going to be borderline Hall of Fame with what he has.
Because he really took advantage of Coors Field, didn't he? In a huge way in his years with the Rockies. Grudzielanek on the day has singled and also grounded out, and he scored a run. .294 with 8 home runs during the season. 2 down with Walker aboard, and it's waved right through by Grudzielanek.
Well, Grudzielanek, a very dependable player, and just out of curiosity, as a general manager, how do you evaluate a Mark Grudzielanek?
Well, listen, he's a gamer. I think, as you said earlier, he's a gamer and a blender. He's not the big power guy. He's not going to always hit for a great average. He's about a .280 hitter, but you need those kind of guys that are willing to play every day and are dirt players.
Routine fly to center, and that's it. Pujols with a leadoff single. Nothing comes of that. Hensley finally got in the game, and it remains 4-0 St. Louis. Well, some young Redbirds enjoying their day in the sun at Busch Stadium. What a gorgeous afternoon here with the sun blazing through, and a particularly nice day for the Cardinals. They're up 4-0. You see, only 4 hits for St. Louis, but one of the runs scoring on a suicide squeeze bunt, which, by the way, was the 14th successful squeeze bunt for the Cardinals this year in 17 attempts.
I mean, there's so many parts of that number, those numbers that are unbelievable. 17 attempts is remarkable. I mean, managers, most guys try it a couple times a year, and it usually doesn't work. 14 out of 17, the success ratio there is phenomenal. It's not only the execution of getting the bunt down, but it's also good base running as well, because oftentimes you leave too early, the pitcher throws the ball up in the zone or at the hitter, the base runner runs into an out. It's great execution on the Cardinals' part.
Eckstein got it down that time. That's in for a strike on Mark Loretta. He has singled and also grounded out to third. Hit .280 during the regular season, not nearly the year he had in 04 when he hit .335 with over 200 hits, but he had surgery in May on his left thumb because of a torn ligament. That certainly played a factor. Fouled away, 2-2. Meanwhile, now Mark Mulder is the other side of the story, along with the Cardinals manufacturing 4 runs today. Mulder, since getting drilled by a line drive from Joe Randa in the 2nd inning, has been brilliant. He's scattered 3 singles since then. That's it.
Well, and it's one of those things that he just seemed to just settle down and just say, look, it can't get any worse. I just took one off the arm and just going out there and throwing it. He's been very effective.
I think you made a very good point, though. I think a lot of times when something's bothering you, you don't try to do too much. You're kind of more into yourself and your body. You slow yourself down. And Mulder really has had great command, which he lacked his last few starts.
Pujols backs up. He'll take it himself. 1 man out, and as you saw last inning, Mulder needed only 5 pitches to get through the 5th. Well, fans, join Major League Baseball in our efforts to rebuild the Gulf Coast. Support Habitat for Humanity by calling 1-800-HABITAT, logging on to MLB.com or habitat.org. 1 out in the 6th inning for San Diego. And Ramon Hernandez, the catcher, is 0 for 2 today. He's grounded out to second and flying to center. He takes a breaking ball inside.
You know, and Mulder, guys like playing behind Mulder because Mulder gets the ball, he gets on the hill, and he throws it, and he keeps his infielders involved. He's not the big strikeout pitcher.
Spanked to left by Hernandez from the shadows into the sunshine. He's got himself a hit with 1 down in the 6th.
You know, he induces a lot of ground balls, and he keeps his fielders involved, and it's very easy as a position player when the pitcher is throwing a lot of balls and working long counts to just get on your heels. And then when that ball is hit, you're not ready to make that great play. He keeps his infielders involved. They reward him by making the plays.
Well, for the Cardinals, they've got him right where they want him right now. A man on first base. This is a double play situation. This is what they've done this entire series so far, turning 5 double plays.
And 2 today as it's fouled away by Giles. He is 0 for 2 with a couple of ground balls to help out that column from Mulder. But this is a guy who wants to hit the ball in the air, wants to hit it over that fence, despite the lower home run totals for Giles this season. And if it's going to happen today, it might have to happen right here with Giles and then Khalil Green in the 6th inning. But he grounds that to first. Pujols up, guns to second, 1 back to first, 2. The 3rd double play of the day turned by St. Louis. Giles hits into it. And another possible threat goes by the boards for the Padres. 4-0 Cardinals. Hosting the Padres, and for the home team, it's going awfully well. The Cardinals with a 4-0 lead. Padres down a game in the series, and they are in deep trouble here. Even though they have out-hit St. Louis for the 2nd game in a row, they out-hit the Cardinals 13-10 in the first game, but it didn't make any difference. St. Louis won that 8-5.
Well, and as we were just talking about, 3 double plays for the St. Louis Cardinal defense each of the last 3 innings. I mean, double play, double play. You are not going to sustain or even create any type of rally when you're constantly hitting into double plays. And the Padres have had opportunities to get things going, and then boom, double play. That's why the St. Louis Cardinals are where they're at right now.
Well, they had the bases loaded early and didn't score, and then you get base runners, you think, hey, we're going to get it going again, but there's only so many punches in the gut you can take, and then you start to say, man, this is just not going to happen. The reality is they're only 4 runs down. I mean, this is not out of reach by any means, but when they get back in the dugout, they need to get on the board.
So the bottom of the 6th underway as Abraham Nunez, the switch hitting 3rd baseman, stands in. He has walked and doubled. He has scored each time, and he had a very aggressive base running play in the 3rd that got the Cardinals a run on a hot shot by X9. Nady made a terrific play at first, but came up gunning to the plate. Nunez just outran the throw, and he slid in with a run.
Well, in both instances where runners scored from 3rd, it looked as if it was going on contact. And when you go on contact, you know, if the ball's a line out, you're in deep trouble. If you're throwing out home, you're forcing the defense to make a play.
Into the dirt, blocked by Hernandez. The count now 3-2 on Nunez.
You know, Tony La Russa's style is to kind of grind out 162 games in the regular season. He's relentless. He just stays on the guys to do it. His philosophy offensively in a game is to grind out every inning and try to score in every inning. He wants to put up marks in every single inning so that the offense doesn't ever stop and feel like it's enough. And you'll see that he's going to keep trying to add on. Don't be surprised, man, on 3rd base again, the right guys, the right personnel, the right situation, he may squeeze again. He wants to keep adding marks.
La Russa 3rd in all-time wins. When his managerial career is over, he is most certainly headed to the Hall of Fame in Cooperstown. One of the best the game has ever known.
Well, and he subscribes to that theory, as he told us earlier, that it's much better to score 1 run in 4 different innings than it is 4 runs in 1 inning. It's just chop at the knees, chop, 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 and then before you know it, you're not standing anymore, and that's what he does.
Liner, but caught by Green at short, and Nunez is retired. 1 away in the 6th for St. Louis.
Well, I think the other thing is when you're trying to score every inning, if you keep trying to get that 1 run every inning, sooner or later one of your big boppers is going to hit one out, and that becomes a 3-run inning, or you end up getting 5 runs in an inning. So play for the 1 run every inning and hope that you can add to it.
Well, and you never give the other team any time to relax. It's just constant pressure, and that wears the other team down, if nothing more, just mentally.
And Tony has had very good luck with catchers here in St. Louis. Of course, Mike Matheny before Yadier Molina, who has blossomed as one of the best defensive catchers in the game. He has thrown out 64% of those trying to seal against him this year. And he's picked off 9 base runners. Now, that could be third base, that could be first, that could be second. Most of the time it's over at first base. But you don't want to take any kind of lead at all when he's behind there.
Well, that is a credit to Tony La Russa's staff as well, calling for pitch outs, throwing over to first base.
Green gets another one on a ground out by Molina. We check out our Wheaties winning moments. Terrific stab there by Nady, but not in time to get Nunez at the plate. Estacio for a time looked like he was going to get off the hook, but twice runners have scored from third on ground balls to the infield for the Cardinals.
Well, and both times Ramon Hernandez was unable to block the plate on the throws he received from Xavier Nady at first base. You know, if he blocks the plate, he gives himself a little better chance to preventing each of those runs from scoring.
Stevie said, how many punches to the gut can the Padres take and still hang in there? Mark Mulder took basically a punch off the arm on a line drive early in the game off the bat of Joe Randa. Since then, he has been outstanding. And really, the Padres haven't had a whiff of a run against him. As he takes that one down low. He's also put a sacrifice bunt into play, which he only did once all during the regular season. And it was a terrific bunt on an 0-2 pitch. Base is empty here as he takes low.
Well, here's a line drive from early in the game. Joe Randa hits it off of his bicep muscle right there. He's been able to stay in the game in a real gritty effort.
And here he takes ball 4. So Mulder is doing a little bit of everything as Hensley walks him with 2 down. The sin of walking the pitcher.
You know, when you break down this Cardinals team, you say, well, let's see what they can do. Their starting pitchers have won 81 games during the regular season of the 100. They have, you know, the most wins from the starting rotation. They have a very deep bullpen. They play defense. They shut down the running game. They manufacture runs. They execute 14 of 17 squeeze plays. They have power. They get extra base hits. They really are a well-balanced and very deep club.
Outside to David Eckstein, who has singled. He's also placed down that suicide squeeze. Well, 2 down here. You don't look for him to be bunting again. So Joe Randa's backed up at third. Joe Randa, he's the man in the sunshine right now. The long shadow behind him. It's going to be tough to see over there.
Well, it is tough to see. You know, you have those shadows. It's tough to pick the ball up off the plate. You know, sometimes the ball will get right in the sun. You miss it. You don't see it. You know, you can even have a high hopper that gets caught in the sun and completely miss the ball.
Eckstein looking at a strike. Of course, the Eckstein family saga with kidney disease is well known. His dad, Whitey, is here. David Eckstein's father is here. He is one of the many family members who has been battling kidney disease. David Eckstein does not. He is not afflicted. But most of the family is. An incredible story. You probably know some of the details. He lines that one to short, caught by Green for out number 3. So nothing doing here in the 6th inning for the Cardinals. No runs or hits, a walk, and 1 man left. The Cardinals have 4, and the Padres have none through 6. Top of the 7th inning from St. Louis and Busch Stadium. National League Division Series game number 2 between the Padres and the Cardinals. Cardinals up 1 game to none. Dave O'Brien, Steve Phillips, Eric Karros, and Duke Castiglione, your hosts on this gorgeous afternoon. But not so pretty for Khalil Green and the Padres. He's committed an error, and San Diego trails 4-0 here, despite out hitting St. Louis 5-4. Mark Mulder, after getting drilled early in the game on his pitching arm, has scattered 5 hits. He has been in command with a shutout bid. Green has walked and singled on the day. He cuts and foul tips it to the mid for a strike, and it's 1-2. So it'll be Khalil Green, the number 5 hitter, then Joe Randa, then Xavier Nady. And between them, they have just a couple of singles. That one wrapped foul by Khalil Green.
Well, the Cardinals really play Green to pull the ball. As we talk through these games, the advanced scouting reports come in, and teams pitch to the defense. They're pulling up, they're playing them to pull it. They'll pitch them inside and put them in a position to get out front, top the ball, and hit into the strength of the defense.
Over 52,000 filling Busch Stadium this afternoon. Here's the 2-2. He left it down low for ball 3. Well, the only inning where Mulder had some control issues at all was the second. He walked a man, that was Green, and also hit a batter, that was Nady. Loaded the bases. Then he got the next 2 men out. This one flying into right center field, into the alley. That's going to drop down and bounce up against the fence, where Edmonds picks it up, but it's going to be a double for Khalil Green. He walks in with a 2-base hit. And for more on that story of the Ecksteins, and we showed you Whitey earlier today, let's go to Duke Castiglione with a special guest.
All right, I am with a very special guest, Whitey Eckstein, of course, David Eckstein's father. And Whitey, had a chance to talk to David before the game. He was comparing the days in Anaheim to the days here in St. Louis. They do the little things. The managers very alike. That this team could win the championship. But what does Dad think?
Pardon me?
What does Dad think? Does this team have it up?
Yes. You know, you play fielding, pitching wins you to get you to the playoffs and get you to the series. And it's also, at the end of the year, the players that really are striving to do the best and, you know, and compete. And they're the ones that win. And, you know, from what I see over here with Cardinals, they compete every day and they want to win. And that's important.
August 19th, you have a kidney transplant, and here you are watching your son Game 2 of the division series. How are you feeling?
I feel great. I feel great, especially about the 4 double plays. I think that's why he was brought here. And you know, David's a good hitter, but his talent really is with the glove and keeping the infield together. And I just, you know, playing small ball and doing the little things like they used to 40, 50 years ago when I was a kid growing up. And that's what makes the game so pleasurable. You know, you didn't hear about squeeze bunts and, you know, bunting and then swinging away and hitting to right field, moving the runner over. These are the little things that the Cardinals do. And that's what you need to do to go on through the playoffs.
Well, we're so glad you're feeling better. Mrs. Eckstein to his right. And fellas, they told me they still get nervous every time David's up, but they did like that squeeze.
Yep, they look it. Thank you, Duke. And our best wishes to the entire Eckstein family. And David doing what he does so well, the little things. Here's that suicide squeeze.
Well, that's what makes him such an invaluable player for the St. Louis Cardinal Ball Club. I mean, he's had a walk-off home run. He's ended games with a suicide squeeze. He does it out there in the infield, double plays. And he is somebody, he's a manager's dream.
The 5'7" shortstop back to his spot. Runners at first and third. And there's a ground ball base hit. Eckstein can't get to that one. And Green is in to score on Xavier Nady's RBI single. And San Diego is at last on the board here to make it 4-1 Cardinals.
Well, and just as we mentioned that St. Louis has had so many opportunities and they just haven't really been able to break the game wide open. And the same can be said about the San Diego Ball Club in these first 2 division games. They've had a number of opportunities, but they just haven't been able to get that big hit. When they get runners on, they hit into double plays. They strike out. They haven't been able to capitalize. Here, Xavier Nady is able to drive the ball, get that run. Maybe that's the spark that gets this Padre Ball Club going.
Julian Tavares starting to warm up with runners at first and second. Nobody out. 3 consecutive hits off Mulder. And Miguel Olivo is the pinch hitter as he hits for the rookie Ben Johnson.
You know, you have to credit the Padres, though, where you can get demoralized. I'm sure Bruce Bochy is saying, look, we're getting guys on base. Sooner or later, we're going to find the hole to get a guy across, to push somebody across to get a run. And let's see if we can't keep putting the pressure on.
Ground ball to Grunzaletta. To Eckstein 1 on the first double play. They did it again. For the 4th time today, the Cardinals turn 2. A runner at third, but now 2 out.
Well, they've gone 6-4-3, 3-6-3. Let's mix in a 4-6-3 right here. Grunzaletta, nice and easy. Eckstein throws it, gets up in the air so that he doesn't get hurt if there's any contact at the base. Double play. Nice turn.
He induced 32 of them during the regular season. Time for the most in the National League. It's rattled foul by Damian Jackson.
And one of the approaches Dave Magadan tried to impart on his San Diego hitters, when they see Mulder, if it's low, if the ball is low in the zone, low, let it go, high, let it fly. Because if it's low and with his movement, you're going to just bang it right into the ground, which is exactly what the Cardinals want.
It's a knuckleball philosophy.
It really is. And then when he said that to me, that's, you know, I played with Tom Candiotti, a great knuckleball pitcher, and he used to say, low, let it go. I mean, high, let it fly, low, let it go. Well, and that's the first thing I heard when Dave Magadan described the approach to Mulder.
Well, Mulder, 58% of his outs this year have come from the ground ball, so he is a ground ball pitcher, obviously leading to the double play. 17 ground ball outs today.
Oh, that one almost got the hitter. Stopped there by Molina, and now they are going to award him the base. And it will be a hit batsman. A delayed call by Bill Hahn. La Russa is going to come out for an explanation, I guess.
Well, and what you have to remember, even if the ball bounces on the ground and then hits the hitter, that still counts as a hit by pitch. It doesn't have to hit him square right in the air. See, that ball bounces. And I don't know if that really hit him or if Jackson just did a good job. A lot of times you just go down, you make the call for the umpire. And I know there were a number of times, you know, as a hitter, you get into situations where maybe you're behind in the count, you don't feel good, you take it if you can get it.
Well, Jackson certainly sold it. Mulder coming out to a big hand. A standing ovation for Mark Mulder. Drilled on the bicep early in the contest. He pitches deep into the 7th. The Cardinals lead it 4-1. HD TV by logging on to 100yardblitz.com and entering today's code word pickoff. That's it for Mulder, but he pitches 6 2/3, giving up 1 run, 8 hits. The men on base at first and third do belong to him. We toss around the phrase probably a little too often, gutsy effort, but today's performance by Mulder after getting drilled early in the game certainly qualifies.
Well, he did throw well, and especially with the way he started in that second inning, getting banged around, that ball off the arm. He could have easily gone in and shut it down, but he is one of those guys that is very competitive, knows he has good stuff, and was able to rebound and throw a very good ball game.
Well, Tavares coming on to pitch, and the Padres are trying to make a little run here. They have a run on the board in the inning, 3 hits, and now a hit batsman, which was debatable, but Jackson got the base. The numbers on Tavares, who can be wild, but he can also be very effective.
Well, I tell you what, he's another sinker ball pitcher. He's brought in to get the ground balls for Tony La Russa. Guys can put it in play. He doesn't strike out many, but he'll throw strikes and induce the double plays.
2 on, 2 out, and a pinch hitter. Ryan Klesko getting in. Did not start today. His numbers during the regular season included 18 homers. So Bochy will use him here in the 7th, where a home run would tie it, and it's up and away for ball 1.
Well, a lot of those home runs were early on in the season. You know, that last 2 months of the season, you know, Bruce Bochy moved him into the 2nd spot because he was still getting on base, but wasn't hitting for any kind of power. You know, he'd like to see some power right now, obviously.
Swing at a high fly ball into left center field. There's Edmonds and Sanders. Sanders wants it. He's got it. No magic from Klesko. He flies out. The Cardinals with some big bats due up. As we go to the bottom of the 7th, it's Edmonds, Pujols, and Walker hosting the San Diego Padres. A critical ball game for the Padres. They're down 1-0. They trail in this contest 4-1 to St. Louis. Ryan Klesko, after popping out moments ago, stays in the game and takes over in left field after batting for Young there. Rudy Cianes comes out of the bullpen for San Diego, and they used him a lot during the regular year.
Well, he's a power pitcher, going to come at you with a good mid-90s fastball, a good breaking ball. One of the key acquisitions for Kevin Towers in assembling this bullpen, which has been very effective for the San Diego Padre Ball Club.
Facing Edmonds first, he's 0-2 with a walk, and he fouls that one away. Jim homered in game 1, going 3 for 4. He did not have the same kind of season this year, by his own admission, that he had last year. His numbers way off, and he said at times I just stunk this season, but last season 42 homers, 111 RBIs.
Well, the other thing with Jim Edmonds too is he plays so hard. He gets dinged up quite a bit. He has knee problems, shoulder problems, it's tough to play every day. The best thing about it, worst thing about baseball is that you play every day. It's the best thing because you have a bad day, you get a chance tomorrow to get the job done. But it's the worst thing because you play every day, and the grind can really take a toll on you.
Well, it is. It's a game of attrition, and you have that injury. You know, it's not like, okay, everything's going to stop for a week. You can regroup. It's game after game, and you know, you can pile up a nice offer for a week, and that doesn't do you any good.
It helps Edmonds, of course, that he never crashes into the wall.
Yeah.
He never dives on the warning track. He never gives up his body to make a spectacular catch.
Well, and that's one of the things that's allowed him to play out there all the time without any nicks or bruises. You know, the thing I'd like to see is if he could ever do something to get on Sports Center in those top plays.
Once in a while.
Guy played so long.
Give us a web jump one time.
Do something. Inside as he checks his swing. And the big story today, along with the Cardinals manufacturing many of their runs as they lead at 4-1, is the fact St. Louis has turned 4 double plays, which, by the way, ties a National League Division Series record. So La Russa's team has done just about everything perfectly today. That's into the dirt on Edmonds. Albert Pujols next, and then Larry Walker to hit. 3 balls, 2 strikes on a number 2 hitting Edmonds. He's the only Cardinal hitter, by the way, who struck out 100 times this year. 139 of them for Jim. In fact, he's the only Cardinal to even come close to 100. Only the Giants, Marlins, and Cubs struck out less than St. Louis in the National League. And he'll take a walk here. Free pass for the second time today for Edmonds. Back to those double plays. 4 turned today.
Well, the defense has been key, and it's because Mark Mulder gets the ground balls. You see how quickly David Eckstein gets the ball out of his glove right there. Great chemistry at second and short. Great strong arm by Mark Grzelcyk. And let's mix in a 3-6-3 double play. Albert Pujols' defense tremendously improved. And then just to round it off, 4-6-3 double play. They can turn him no matter which way you hit him.
Albert Pujols has hit into a double play himself today. He's also walked. The runner goes. And a ground ball hit right behind Edmonds. That's some hitting by Albert Pujols. Edmonds chugs into third and stops there.
Well, and this is what makes this St. Louis Cardinal offense so difficult to defense. I mean, David Eckstein, you can understand doing the hit and run and the little things, but where are you going to find a ball club where your best hitter, your number 3 hitter, is going to hit behind the runner, especially when there aren't any strikes, is going to hit the ball to the right side, a hit and run, give himself up. This is a 40 home run guy, and he's going the other way.
Well, where are you going to find him? There's only one place you're going to find a hitter that can do all of that and hit and run. That's Albert Pujols. None of the other big power hitters have the back control and the ability to make contact like him.
Walker slices a foul back out of play. Now, the San Diego bullpen has been excellent so far in this series. 5 2/3 innings. They've allowed only 4 hits and no runs, but that could end right here.
Well, and you talk about Albert Pujols and all the things that he is capable of doing. You know, I spoke to Tony La Russa.
And one tap but foul right behind the plate, and it's 0-2 on Walker.
And he told me that he asked Albert, I want to meet the guy that taught you how to play baseball. And was it somebody in the minor leagues? You know, Albert said no. And so then he met his junior college coach. Tony went and asked him and said, were you the one that taught Albert how to play ball? He said, no, it wasn't me. And he just said that Albert just from day one just knows how to play the game. Just flat out, and with a superstar, with his physical attributes, his mental approach, his makeup, very rarely will you find somebody that has a combination of all of those things.
Probably once every quarter century in the majors, a player has dropped in as a rookie as a complete player. And Pujols appeared to be that guy from the first day.
But rarely is that kind of player a 13th round draft pick from the amateur draft. I mean, you've got to be kidding me. Now, you listen, credit the Cardinals for getting him. They were wrong 12 times before. As good as he is, he should have been the first pick. They took, but
how the Mets not drafted him? You guys were going to the World Series that year.
You think I didn't ask that question?
2-2 into the dirt on Walker. Now full count. The Walt Jocketty will tell you, you know what, in the end, we got him. He's ours.
They've done a tremendous job. Walt Jocketty has done a great job building this club. He has veterans, star players. They brought young players up to get it done. I mean, this is their year that looks like it could all come together.
The 3-2 check swing, ball 4. Oh, the appeal, and now it's a strike 3. Walker only now sees it. And Angel Hernandez rung him up. The runners stay put. Walker was dashing off to first, certain it was ball 4. And Angel Hernandez said, no, you went.
Well, Larry didn't think he went, putting the bat down and heading towards first base for 2 reasons. One, you want to just sell it and act like, of course I didn't swing. I'm going down to first base. But then when the umpire makes that call, obviously it's going to be a bit unsettling. Fortunately for Larry, he had to go back to the dugout.
Well, Larry has not seen the ball well at all today. His swings haven't looked good, and he really looks like he's not comfortable at the plate at all.
Walker striking out for the 3rd time, 0 for 4. Reggie Sanders, though, is certainly locked in game 1 with 6 RBIs. Hitless today. Not anymore. Down the line. Edmonds is in. Pujols heading into 3rd. It's deep into the corner. They're waving him in. Albert Pujols trying to score. The throw home, not in time. For the 3rd, not in time. Reggie Sanders with a triple, and that makes it 6-1.
Well, Reggie just gets a pitch down to the zone and drops the head on the ball, pulling it down the line right there. You know he's going to get one, but Albert Pujols, he can run. And you see him coming around second base to 3rd. Jose Oquendo getting deep down the line to gauge where the left fielder was. Outstanding job by Oquendo. 2 RBI.
Waved at and missed by Grunzelanek. He's gone 1 for 3. So Reggie Sanders with 6 RBIs in the first game, 2 more here in the second game. And the Cardinals lead is up to 5. Infield in as that one is bloop fouled by Grunzelanek.
Well, and if you notice, Cianis has thrown, in his last 4 pitches, 3 of them have been breaking balls. One, he struck out Larry Walker. Grunzelanek swung and missed and then just fouled out. The one fastball throws to Sanders, hits it down the line. You've got to go with the breaking ball, right? Don't even mess with the fastball.
Popped up, foul off first. Nady to give it a look, but no play. It's on top of the dugout roof. Albert Pujols coming to score all the way from first. You know, for a big guy who doesn't run terribly well, he has led the majors in runs scored 3 years in a row.
Well, he's not that bad of a runner. He's got 16 stolen bases this year, and again, that's not just on speed, but it's just as we were talking about Larry Walker earlier, not necessarily great speed, but a very good base runner.
A very good base runner, and again, a part of his game you really don't concentrate on.
But the thing about Albert Pujols is, you know, his offense has been great, but what he has done is he's challenged himself to get better in different aspects of the game. He said, I want to be a better base runner. I want to steal bases. He steals 16. He said, I want to be a better defensive first baseman. He's moving at first base as well as I've ever seen him. Great first step quickness, but it's because of what's inside of him that he's been able to make those improvements.
Grunzelanek strikes out as he tried to hold up. And there are 2 down in the inning. By the way, on Sanders, give him credit for a 2-run double. He goes to 3rd on the throw to the plate. Pujols a little bit upset about something there. Despite the fact he has 2 hits and an RBI and a run scored today. So 2 down. Reggie Sanders at 3rd base. 2 runs in for Nunez as he cuts for strike 1. So Cardinals closing in on a huge 2-0 lead in this best-of-5 division series, which heads back to San Diego for game 3 on Saturday.
Well, and as you mentioned earlier, Steve, you know, talking about Reggie Sanders, he's the type of player that when he gets hot, it doesn't matter what you throw up to the plate. He's going to hit it. He's going to be effective. And just as hot as he can get, he can also be just as cold. And that historically has been his mantra his entire career. And right now, he is a guy you do not want to face because he is on fire.
Well, you're right. He's also, you know, he's been a guy that every year got a 1-year contract and he'd move on to the next place. And he'd always hit 20, driving 100. He found a home here in St. Louis. They really appreciate what he can do because he's not a bad outfielder. He's got a decent arm. He can run pretty well. He can do a lot of things to help you win. on a team that has a lot of strength.
Into the dirt on Nunez, blocked away by Hernandez. Reggie Sanders with one of those suitcases with a lot of stickers on it. That's been said of a good many ball players over the years. When they come to St. Louis, they stop putting stickers on.
Yeah, but you know what's interesting? He may have a lot of stickers, but they always end up being in the postseason, those teams he plays for. You know, whether it's the Braves, the Reds, the Giants, the Diamondbacks.
Swinging a high, deep drive to right, but Giles there on the back pedal. He'll haul it in. But Sanders with a 2-run double. It was the Cardinals' first hit with men in scoring position on the day, but he's driven in 8 in the series. In St. Louis, very festive. It's go Cardinals. They know they're going on to San Diego. And the way it's looking right now, unless the Padres have a big-time rally in them, they certainly did in Game 1. But if they don't today, they're going to be down 2-0 going to San Diego. Tavares drops in a strike to get in front of Mark Loretta. 6-1 the Cardinals. So Taguchi taking over in left field for Reggie Sanders, who just drove in 2 of the double to give him 8 RBIs in the first 2 games. Loretta 1 for 3. Looks at a pitch outside. It's 2, 3, and 4 batting here for the Padres, trying to get something going offensively. But it won't happen that way with Eckstein throwing for the out. 1 gone. We take a look at who's left on the bench now, presented by ING. Of the Padres, some lefties left, 3 of them.
Well, you got 3 lefties, but you got to use them in a situation, and they haven't had a situation where they could use them. I mean, they've had some opportunities getting runners on, but they just can't get that big base hit, and that's been the story for the San Diego Padre Ball Club.
Well, with Mulder having started for the Cardinals, the bench was better today for the Padres because they started their right-hand hitting lineup. They had Roberts, Klesko's gotten into the game, but they need to get base runners right now and try to keep the ball in play because double plays have wiped them out significantly today.
Now, how much of what happened in Game 1, when the Padres got down a bunch but rallied to make it 8-5 and had the bases loaded in the 9th, how much does that spill over into today?
Well, I think it's a good question. For the Padres, they're going to keep reinforcing. Look, we came back on them. From Tony La Russa's perspective, he says, well, if it were a different game, a 1-run game or a 2-run game, my pitchers would have made different pitches. We had a big lead. I wanted to just throw strikes. That's why they got some base hits. So La Russa's selling it, spinning it his way. Bochy's spinning it the other way.
Well, it may have spilled over, but the thing got completely dumped out when they didn't score, when they had bases loaded early in the game, and the Padres were unable to capitalize on that. So any momentum that they may have had in that 9th inning yesterday or 2 days ago, gone.
Had the bases loaded in the 2nd inning and had Mulder reeling a bit after he had been struck by the line drive from Joe Randa. But then you look at the numbers, and Mark Mulder pitched 6 2/3 and gave up just 1 run on 8 hits. Line to left field and a base hit for Hernandez.
So you asked both managers about, the off day between these 2 games and would they like to have played. Both managers said, yeah, we would have liked to have played right away again, thinking that momentum didn't really matter to either one of them. For the Padres, they thought, hey, we came on late, let's carry it through. The off day may have kind of taken the air out of the balloon a little bit from their perspective. And Tony La Russa says, you know what, we just want to keep playing because we feel like we're in a groove.
Every playoff manager deals with that. The funky start times, off days in between Game 1 and 2, as was the case here today. This contest started at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Well, and that's one of the things you face when you get to the postseason is the schedule and the uncertainty of the schedule, whether it's off days, travel days, as you said, start times. I mean, this San Diego game on Saturday night, 8 o'clock start Western time. That's 11 o'clock. It just messes up your timing, and baseball players become creatures of habit. You get into routines, then all of a sudden you're thrust out of these routines. You have to be very disciplined to have success in the postseason.
Of course, we want to make sure all the games are brought to you on television as best we can manage it. So you do get some odd start times. The runner at first base is Giles, cuts and misses. He is 0 for 3, including hitting into one of 4 double plays today. that the Padres have bounded into.
You know, the thing that doesn't bother me, though, with the off days mixing in is that what it ends up doing is letting the managers feel like they have fresh arms in the bullpen. And I think in the end, it comes down in the playoffs to becoming more about the actual talent on your team than the fatigue factor and how many pitches did a guy throw. Everybody's fresh, so it's really mano a mano. Let's see who has the best team, because everybody has the same amount of rest, and it's not about guys being tired.
Brian Giles looking for his first hit of the day, 0 for 3. After getting 2 hits in game 1, has Hernandez at first and 1 gone, and lets that one go outside. 2-2.
You know, when getting back to that point, though, about being tired, or I think as a player, you just get into a situation you want to know on Tuesday, what do you have ahead of you for the next week? When am I playing? And when you get to the postseason, because of TV schedules and this and that, you know, well, now you may be playing Friday, but if this happens, you might be playing Saturday, or you might be playing at this time, you might be playing at that time. And that's where it has an impact. I mean, people from the outside looking in say, that's minimal. You should be able to deal with that. But as I said, you know, as a player, you get into a routine and a habit, and you really don't like to have that thing disrupted.
On deck, Khalil Green. Good day at the plate. He has walked. He's also singled and doubled. But he committed a key error early in the contest as well. Quite rare for him. He only made 8 of them all season. Here's the 3-2. With Hernandez holding, and it is outside, ball 4. So 2 on. And that door might be opening a bit. Well, the Astros and the Braves come your way tonight on Fox. Roger Clemens against John Smoltz in a dandy of a pitcher's duel. On Friday, it's the White Sox and Red Sox on ESPN2 and on ESPN at 8. Friday night, the Angels and the Yankees. The big unit, Randy Johnson, trying to give the Yankees the advantage in that best of 5. And speaking of that series, the Red Sox losing a heartbreaker yesterday. A key error by Tony Graffinino in that game, but give the White Sox all the credit in the world. They took advantage of that, as they've done all season long. Well, they find a way to score runs, don't they? And they have a huge 2-0 lead over Boston.
Well, I mean, they've played that way all year long, and they just seem to make plays on both sides of the ball. The defense steps up, a pitcher makes a big pitch, or somebody gets a key hit, or advances a runner into scoring position. A lot of things are going right for the White Sox, and they're starting to believe in themselves.
Fouled away deep off to the left by Khalil Green. And one thing about that White Sox team, as we check out the bullpen, Flores, the left-hander, is the guy thrown out there now for Tony La Russa. They're playing with a chip on their shoulder the size of Montana, because the White Sox do not feel they got proper credit, that they ever got their due, despite winning almost 100 games.
Well, and it's funny because 3-4 weeks ago, we in the media were talking about this great collapse, and look at what the White Sox are. They may not even make the postseason. And, you know, really from a timing standpoint, they played extremely well that last week and carried that in right to the playoffs. So if you were going to struggle, you know, struggle prior to getting to the playoffs, get hot right before that final week. And that's exactly what the White Sox have done. And they've carried that in to the postseason.
That is the reality of Major League Baseball, is what goes up must come down, and what is down inevitably will come back up again. And I think, you know, staving off the collapse where they started to say, you know what, hey, we didn't really fold. You know, we can do this. Their pitching started settling in the last week of the season against the Indians, and I think they started to believe, listen, 94 of their 162 games this year were decided by 2 or less runs. That's playoff baseball every day of the regular season. That primed them for what playoff baseball really is.
2 on 1 out here. Cardinals leading 6-1 in the 8th. Khalil Green with an 0-1 pitch. Lines that one to third. Fair ball caught by Nunez. And the runners, Hernandez and Giles, stay put. 2 down.
Well, Tavares throws a lot of balls that run in on right-handers. He throws a very heavy sinker. This ball runs in on Khalil Green. Not able to get the barrel of the bat on the ball. Hits a line drive. Nunez over there to make the play. But fortunately for the Padres, they didn't hit it on the ground and hit into another double play. You know, if you're going to make an out, just make one out and give the next hitter an opportunity to drive in some runs.
Well, here's the next hitter, Joe Randa. He has singled twice. He's also hit into a 6-4-3 double play. Tavares will fire up the middle. That's a base hit. With 2 down, Hernandez into third will stop there. Edmonds hurries it in. He skipped the throw to the plate, but right on the money. But the bases are loaded for San Diego here, and the Padres still have life in them.
when you look at the Cardinals, you try to equate the value of all of the players on the field. There's no statistic necessarily in baseball right now that says Jim Edmonds was the cause for that run not scoring on the base hit, but it is. Edmonds is able to come charging hard. Hernandez doesn't run all that well, and a very strong arm holds the runner.
Dave Duncan, the pitching coach of the Cardinals, trots out to talk this over with Tavares and company. And the batter will be Xavier Nady, who had an RBI single in the 7th inning.
Well, Xavier Nady is somebody that this Padre ball club is looking to in the future to fill that void in the middle of the lineup. Now, if you look at this ball club the San Diego Padres have offensively, they just don't have that power guy. I mean, nobody in the lineup hit more than 20 home runs. Nobody drove in more than 85 runs, yet they're in the postseason. You won't find another team playing now that has that futility. Xavier Nady is the guy. He will have an opportunity, whether it's at first, third, or in the outfield. He will be the guy that gets the opportunity next year.
And the big question as they move forward, all 3 base runners right now are free agents at the end of the season. Joe Randa, Brian Giles, and Ramon Hernandez. Will they be back as Padres? And if not, how do they plug those holes?
Bases filled up for Nady. He checked his swing, got him on the arm, and that's going to be a hit batsman and a run in. That forces in Hernandez to make it 6-2. So Nady just looking to hold up his swing, but he got drilled by the pitch. And now it's a 4-run game, and Duncan is on the horn again.
Well, and that's Tavares at his best. I mean, he throws balls inside. They run in, and he doesn't have great control of the inside part of the plate. He does hit a lot of batters, and it's because he is not afraid to throw inside, but he doesn't have the control to consistently throw effectively inside. That ball runs in, hits Nady, ends up being an RBI. The Padres will take it.
That'll do it for Tavares. Here comes La Russa. He's got to lift him here. And so the San Diego Padres are about to bring the tying run to bat here in the 8th inning. Mark Sweeney will hit, and we'll be back in just a moment. You know, they didn't believe the barrier could be broken. They didn't know Roger Bannister. The inspirational story of Bannister's quest to break the 4-minute mile. 4 minutes, an ESPN2 original movie. It premieres tonight, right after the game on ESPN2. 4 minutes, also available in high definition on ESPN HD.
Eric, you can run a 4-minute mile, can't you?
No, I'm going to watch that. That'll be my
your workout.
Yeah, that's my cardio today. I'll watch that program.
It was akin in its day to what Roger Maris did when he broke Babe Ruth's home run record when he got to 61 in 61.
Well, it's something you think about. At the time, nobody thought that was a possibility, and for him to accomplish something like that just revolutionized track.
Randy Flores, the left-hander, coming out of the bullpen and right into the Lions' den because the bases are loaded. And the tying run is about to bat, and Mark Sweeney, a grand slam, would even the score right now, 6-2 St. Louis. Flores against lefties particularly tough this year. He held them to a 171 batting average, just 13 for 76.
Well, he is difficult against left-handed hitters, and he's got a good breaking ball, comes across his body. Out of USC, a very effective pitcher there. You know, he is somebody that historically, at least this year, the left-hander has been Ray King, but Tony hasn't been comfortable with him as of late. Flores gets the nod.
So the left-hand hitting Sweeney gets in with a Padre at every base. And he takes a strike. 0-1.
Well, it just shows you over the course of a season, when you get to the playoffs, the managers can't worry about feelings for their players. They have to do what's right in the situation. Ray King's been a go-to guy most of the year in this situation for Tony La Russa. He has struggled of late. Flores gets the opportunity now. You know, we talked about Al Reyes, one of the relievers for his team, one of the very effective relievers most of the season. The last game of the season, he comes in, injures his elbow, is going to need surgery on a ligament in his elbow, unavailable now to the Cardinals for the stretch run.
Yeah, a right-handed pitcher that is very effective against lefties. And you know, the thing about that is he is somebody that's been around, more of a journeyman pitcher, finally come into his own this year, have an opportunity for the postseason, then unable to participate.
Bullpen for St. Louis, who got beaten around pretty good in game 1. Trying to hold here in game 2. The base is jammed and 2 out in the 8th, and Sweeney will back out.
Well, and you talk about, Steve, you know, hurting somebody's feelings or putting somebody in a certain role. You have a responsibility as a manager to the 25 guys, not just one guy. And, you know, if you are any type of team player, you understand, hey, look, this is best for the team.
The Padres with a run in here in the 8th. He checked and a pitch outside. Good eye that time by Sweeney to even the count.
Well, Sweeney is somebody that's been very effective as a pinch hitter over his career. This year, with Phil Nevin being traded, he's got a lot more at bats than normal, and he is a very capable everyday player. But where he has really established himself over the last 6-7 years is as that guy coming off the bench and being productive.
That's ball 2, 2-1.
Well, Randy Flores kind of making a sign to Bill Hahn, the umpire. They're wondering where that pitch is. I'm not sure he has enough on his resume yet to be able to question in this kind of situation. That ball is off the plate and down a little bit. I'm not sure you can argue it. Billy Hahn, a guy who can have a hot temper behind the plate. This is the kind of situation umpires need to take a big, deep breath and let the game just be played. Well, Sweeney's predominantly a guy who plays against right-hand pitching. You see the numbers there. He has struggled at times against lefties. Doesn't get many at-bats. Only 20 at-bats this year against left-handed pitchers.
Flores 2-1 pitch. On the outside corner, 2-2.
But no alternative for Bruce Bochy is because the left-hander Mark Mulder starts the game, a predominantly right-handed hitting lineup. All he has left on his bench are left-handed hitters. Sweeney, Dave Roberts, Sean Burroughs. It's not as if he has any better option.
Two down, bases loaded. And the 2-2. Swing and a miss. He struck him out. And for the second time today, the Padres leave them loaded. We go to the bottom of the 8th in St. Louis. The Cardinal lead is still 6-2. From St. Louis, it's the bottom of the 8th inning of National League Division Series game number 2 here on ESPN2, presented by Budweiser. The Cardinals already in the lead 1-0, and they hold a 6-2 lead late into game 2. Akinori Otsuka, the right-hander with the funky delivery from Chiba, Japan, coming on to face Yadier Molina. Otsuka with that rather odd hesitation. Flying into left field and caught, although it was sinking pretty drastically. Klesko hauled it in off the bat of Molina. 1 man out.
Well, Klesko just coming in, that ball having top spin on it. When a ball has top spin, obviously it'll go to the ground. It doesn't carry all the way. You know, Klesko staying with it, making a nice catch.
So Molina quickly done in, and John Gall coming up as he puts it foul down the third base line. He'll be followed by David Eckstein. Otsuka very good at Petco in San Diego. A lot of pitchers are, because it's Yellowstone Park, but 157 the batting average against the right-hander there. When he gets outside of Petco, he allows a 324 batting average.
Well, he has been part of this bullpen that has been so effective for the Padres. He, Rudy Cianez, who we saw earlier, Scott Linebrink, and of course the Hall of Fame closer and Trevor Hoffman. The bullpen ERA was the best in the major leagues with 3.48. You know, and they threw 516 innings out of that bullpen, so it just shows how much Bruce Bochy utilized them.
Now due up for the Padres in the 9th inning will be 9-1-2 in their batting order as it popped out of play and foul by Gall. And so that would be Jackson, Klesko, and Loretta as scheduled now. As Bochy and the Padres will have one more crack at a big rally. They just missed an opportunity, leaving the bases loaded in the 8th inning. Managing only 1 run. A roller to Green. He fires on to get Gall. 2 down. Today's Chevrolet player of the game, certainly Mark Mulder, the starter for the Cardinals. In recognition of his outstanding play today, Chevrolet will donate a $1,000 contribution to the Boys and Girls Club of America.
Well, and this is why Walt Jocketty went out and acquired Mark Mulder when he found out that Billy Beane was going to put him on the market for these specific games. And you knew what he was going to do all during the season. He was going to be very consistent, win games. It was the playoffs. This is what the Cardinals lacked last year. That #1 guy, especially with Chris Carpenter being unable to go in the postseason. Now they have 2 top guys, and Matt Morris is your third. I mean, they have got the starters can measure up with anybody in the playoffs.
Eckstein today 1 for 3. Ground ball to first. Nady flips onto the pitcher, and the side is retired. So it is on to the 9th here in St. Louis, and last chance for the Padres. They are down 6-2 to the Cardinals. St. Louis poised to take a 2-0 lead in this best-of-5 division playoff. The St. Louis Cardinals are 3 outs away from taking a commanding 2-0 lead in this National League Division Series. Dave O'Brien, Eric Karros, Steve Phillips, and Duke Castiglione alongside. The Shadows have taken over the diamond here at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. The Cardinals ahead 6-2 as we go to the 9th, and the closer is on, Jason Isringhausen.
Well, he's on, and he struggled in game 1, so Tony La Russa running him right back out there, get him back on the horse and see what he can do as they try to get through this game with an off day and get ready to play in San Diego.
Dave Roberts to pinch hit as he takes outside for ball 1. Dave Roberts, of course, had the most famous stolen base in Red Sox history in game 4 against Mariano Rivera and the Yankees. Driven in moments later by Bill Miller. If that play had never happened, the St. Louis Cardinals frankly wish it never had. Who knows how things would have turned out for the Cardinals in the World Series, because they wouldn't have had to deal with the Red Sox.
Well, Dave Roberts is a very good leadoff hitter, and in games he has started this year for the San Diego Padres, they're 15 games over 500. And he gets on base, he makes things happen, he gets down to first. He's somebody that the pitchers has to worry about. I mean, it creates a whole nother element for the defense, and then when he doesn't play against left-handers, it takes something away from this offense that the San Diego Padres have.
Check swing by Roberts did not offer, and so to count 2-2.
Pretty close to the same pitch that was called the strike the one before that. Roberts has had some leg problems this year, which has really hampered his ability to play every day and to be able to utilize the speed, which is the biggest asset he brings to the table.
Last 2 innings, the Padres have had 5 men on base. That one swung on and fouled away. 5 men on hits, 2 hit batsmen and a walk as well, so a total of 8. And coming up next, the inspirational story of Roger Bannister's quest to break the 4-minute mile. 4 minutes on ESPN2. An original movie coming your way next. Roberts leading off the 9th in the 2-2. High pop up in the center. Edmonds says he has it. 1 out. Desperate times for the San Diego Padres of Brian Giles. Ryan Klesko about to dig in here, but the base is empty in the 9th, and they're down 4.
Well, if there's anything for the San Diego Padres, it's an opportunity again to see Isringhausen, just watch him, maybe get a gauge on his pitches. It still is only a 4-run game, but unless he gets something going, you got to see something. Take something out of this.
A towering fly, but foul. Down into the right field corner by Klesko. He flied out in the 7th inning to leave 2 men on base. As we look at the game 3 probables, Matt Morris against Woody Williams. That's in San Diego. At this point, it looks like the Padres will be playing for their playoff lives. Bounded foul by Klesko.
Well, what you have to remember is Woody Williams pitched game 7 for the St. Louis Cardinal Ball Club last year against the Houston Astros in that great league championship series. With toe-to-toe with Brandon Bakke, the Cardinals ended up winning, and here he is. He's going to try to keep the Padres' hopes alive when they go to San Diego.
Isringhausen's 0-2. Swing and a miss. He got him. He struck him out. 2 away.
Well, as much as you want to diminish what this means for Isringhausen, it is important for Isringhausen to have a good inning today. He's got the big knuckle curveball, just drops it off the table. Klesko swings right over it as he pulls off. Remember, he pulled one deep foul down the line. He throws that breaking ball, Klesko way out in front. This is important for the psyche of Isringhausen and the Cardinals and the manager that he has a good inning today.
Cardinal fans all on their feet at Busch Stadium trying to send their beloved Cardinals westward with a 2-0 lead. That breaking ball stayed up. Loretta, the hitter, he's gone 1 for 4. Bases empty, 2 down in the top of the 9th. 6-2 St. Louis. 1 out away from going ahead 2 games to none. Mark Mulder, a big start today for the Cardinals. Boy, did he come up big after getting drilled on the bicep by a Joe Randa line drive early in the contest. He hung in there and pitched 6 2/3 superb innings. 3-1.
Steve, I mean, where do you go from here? You go back home, you're down 2-0. Do you tell anything to your club? Is there anything you can do, or you just say, hey, go get them?
No, I think you have to regroup. You're going back home again where they've played well this year. But I expect Bruce Bochy to pull the troops together and try to have one of those meetings where we say, look, guys, we can't do anything about what just happened. Let's get it together.
Popped up. It's meeting time. Eckstein backs out. He is there. He's got it. And the St. Louis Cardinals lead this best-of-5 National League Division Series 2 games to none over the Padres, who are headed west in a big hole. The final score from St. Louis: the Cardinals 6, the Padres 2. For Eric Carroll, Steve Phillips, Duke Castiglione, and our entire crew, I'm Dave O'Brien. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. St. Louis leads it 2 games to none. Hey, the critics are raving. Don't miss the premiere of 4 Minutes next on ESPN2.